Now we're recording. Okay, yep, it's recording. Now I'm going to play the intro music. I can edit this so that they don't hear this part.
Do they hear the stuff going on outside?
Yeah, they're gonna hear it.
Okay.
It's gonna totally be outside of it. That they're gonna hear us over the fucking intro. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright. What's up, guys? This is Heavy Minded, a new podcast that I'm trying to do where we pretty much just talk and have a nice ebb and flow. I'm just gonna introduce people, my friends, get to know them, and then also just get to talk about stuff. I, as a precursor, I just want to know that Joe Rogan is a huge inspiration to me, but I am inspired, not imitating. I want that to be clear across the board. I just want this to be like a cool little thing. I love watching podcasts and everything. And I started thinking to myself, why watch them? Why not live that life? Because it sounds like the perfect life. Like, they have people come over, like, they got tons of cool friends, they go to do stuff, and I'm like, why not do that? And after, like, a long time, I've been really, really, like I was telling you, like, I've been having, like, socialization issues, and I was trying to figure out, like, how to get this to go. And I've been really trying to figure out what I want to do. And I dumped, like, $500 on this laptop, started writing, but I really don't like writing. And it's like, I have a lot of these, like, things I can do, I just don't like to do. So this is going to be...
I think it'll be fun.
I think it's going to be fun, too. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
It's going to be a nice hobby.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool.
Something to kill time, chill out with friends.
Yeah. So, this is Bobby. He's my buddy. We work at the same work, which is not going to be disclosed. You got anything to introduce yourself, Bobby?
To introduce myself?
I don't know, you got a catchphrase? You got a slogan?
Shit, I wish. Next episode, if he has me back, I'll see what I could come up with.
We got to think of like a name, like Bobby Boucher or something.
That's too played out, though.
Yeah,
everywhere I go, it's Bobby Boucher.
You know, it hasn't been done before. We're drinking Black and Tan as we're doing the podcast. It's only 2:30, but it doesn't matter.
5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So, I know you from work, and Bobby's a really, really, really cool dude. I thought he'd be perfect for the podcast, and I want him to be on like one of the first ones.
So here we have it.
So now we have.
It's an honor. I hope this shit blows up. I hesitated on cursing this, and he said it's fine to curse.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll try and let go. I'm socially awkward, but we're gonna get over that.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a fucking boulder running down a hill for the first few episodes till it gets going.
Hang in there with us.
Yeah, but so yeah, I know you from work. We've known each other probably 5 months.
Just about. Well, I just earned my 90 days bonuses, so
yeah, so like 3-ish, 3.5. It seems longer. That job seems like it's longer.
Especially when you start working the 5 days, 6 days.
Yeah, that's why I reduced down to 4. I do not. I think the goal is never to work. I really don't want to. But it's such like a fucking catch-22, isn't it, right? Because like I've worked horrible jobs. Like horrible jobs where I'm like, God, I just wish I could work a better job. Then I get that better job. But then like the weird thing about people is like they get complacent. And then they start hating the easiest job they've ever had, and that becomes a more stressful job due to their own mental state.
Right.
And so, like, I look at this job, and I'm like, it's the best one I've ever had, and I really do enjoy it. But at the same time, I don't think I'd be okay if I just ended it right here. You know what I mean? Like, I want to do more stuff. It sounds bullshit, but I don't want to work forever. I really don't. And I think that there's, like, a two-sided hinge to that. I think that there's a fine line between letting yourself rot away in your older ages and working for somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't want to do nothing, but I want to do what I want to do. Like, my goal is to literally, at any point in time, do whatever I want to do. I had this dream when I was young of waking up on a beach, and I was in some fucking hay shack. Like, literally, like, made out of, like, twine and shit. I was just waking up, coming onto the beach.
Somewhere.
Yeah, and that was it. I think I was like, in my dream, I was like 50. I had like white hair and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's what it is. And I don't know, retirement age is fucking bad now.
It seriously is. Unless you get lucky by the lottery or strike it gold somewhere.
Isn't it like 80% of the people who did the lottery fucking died?
You know,
like, not did the lottery. Hold on. 100% of people who did the lottery are gonna die. Yeah, but no, I mean the people who won the lottery. Like 80% of them died, right? Like, cause I don't know. I think I was in school when I was younger, and there was like, we learned about how a lot of them have to go into hiding because their family tries to hunt them down or find hitmen for them and everything.
Right.
Like, that's such a fucking catch-22. And what's even more fucked up is like for the big ones, like the Powerball. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. But I don't think you're allowed to do it anonymously. I'm pretty sure it has to be like a public event. It's a contingency based on getting the money.
I think some states have different laws. I think Powerball is Florida.
Okay.
And no, you can't do it anonymously. There was one meme going around.
Such a catch-22, ain't it?
He was wearing like a mask, like he
put
his name and everything.
The Scream mask. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. That was probably the last guy to do it. And they were like, all right, we're not doing this no more. They got Scream over here.
Right.
Trying to get like $1 million from Powerball. What if that was like the perfect cover-up? Like you kill the guy who wins the Powerball, go dressed in the murder suit that you did it in, and then take the check. Like it's untraceable. You'd never be able to trace him back. So you'd be like, this guy got murdered by doing the Scream at the same time that this dude won the lottery in a Scream costume. You'd have to figure out who was the dude killed and who was the dude who died.
Ain't no way to... I don't know.
What would you do if you won the lottery?
What would I do?
Yes.
I would start investing first off. Obviously, I'm gonna enjoy it for a little bit, but you gotta invest that money to make more money. And that would be a nice little startup. You know, it's obviously hard getting somewhere in life when you start from the bottom. You know, you got to work your way up and then invest that and hopefully, you know, make it big. Lottery though, real estate, number one.
You know, lottery's kind of like that.
Yeah.
You kind of do invest over a period of time to win.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, it's just a really, really low chance investment.
Yeah.
It's high risk, low reward.
For sure, but the ones that do make it,
What would you do?
You know, real estate, obviously take a nice little vacation. I don't think I would quit my job until I obviously found a nice steady supply doing whatever I invested in.
Mm-hmm.
I've really been into like the stock market. I haven't really traded, but I've did a lot of research.
Research. What was that supposed to be? A cross between research and
resources.
Resources. Yeah, I looked into the resources, researched them real good.
Yeah.
Researched them. So what would you do? Would you So you're saying you would probably anonymously like invest and hide it till you figured out something you wanted to do?
I wouldn't necessarily go in hiding about it. Like obviously I would share with my family. The main ones, even the long distance, like ones I don't talk to that much, because I'm one of those people that I might not talk to you for a few years, but I always think about you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whoever it is,
so
family
nice.
Wise, like, would you say?
I said that's so nice.
Yeah,
You're
dude.
so sweet.
Whatever.
I'm just in my head. I'm thinking about like Kanye West, and he's like talking about his cousin stealing his laptop from his house party. And like made $30,000 off of it or something.
What the hell is on that laptop?
I think it was just porn mostly.
Shit.
I really think it was just porn, to be honest with you. I think it was just porn. Yeah. Yeah, I heard a story one time. I think it was the dude from D. Antwoord. You ever listen to D. Antwoord?
A little bit, yeah.
Or D. Antwoord, whatever it's called. I always pronounce it incorrectly. But it was the dude, the main like rapper guy. He said that he went to a house party with Kanye West one time. I'm starting to think it might be Drake. Nah, you know what? We're going with Kanye West. We're going with Kanye West.
Fact check us.
Yeah. It's a YouTube video. I'm pretty sure I saw it. I mean, it might be blurry, but he's into anal porn. He just put it on the TV and just chill there. And you know, there's a specific genre of people that are like that. Like, I went to the casino one time when I was about 21, and I was going for my buddy's birthday, and he was throwing a birthday, and he was Native American, and the whole family was Native American. I lived with them for like a whole year when I was hopping houses, because I lost my apartment when I was like 19. Don't look at the age gap. Going forward, they put like lesbian porn on the TV, and the party was from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m.
Like just the whole family's out there chilling.
The whole family. Like I'm talking to uncle's wife, like everybody.
Got grandma over there and
just all watching the porn. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, you know, close family.
Yeah,
Real close family.
It was all of the buddies from work too. He was like 27. He was a big dude. He was a big dude. He he had a nickname that was like really offensive. It was like Moon or something like that. And it was like offensive. And we thought it was referred to as weight. So we're like, we're not calling you that. Like, what do you mean? He was like, no, I like it. And I was like, okay, we'll go for that. But the lesbian porn was such a weird thing. Obviously, there was some stuff going on at the time that would usually encompass that type of entertainment to be displayed. Like, you're not going to mass and see a lesbian porn on the TV.
No, yeah.
There's a time and a place for it. You know what I mean? This only happened once in my life. But the fact that it's happened once and it was shared with like 15 people in one room in a casino hotel, it's a little weird.
It's a great story.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I can't say I've had any incidences similar to that.
I had to work at like 12, and I went home at 10. Fucking nodded off for like 2 hours, then went back to work. Then worked 15 hours because I worked like that day. I worked 12 to like 1, something like that.
You partied the whole
Yeah,
day.
you can only do that when you're young. You know what I mean? Like, just literally, there's a certain age, and then it starts getting harder and harder and harder to do that.
Man, I'm 22, and if I have a night out,
Fucked.
I need the next day.
You need the whole next day. And the thing is, if you only got 2 days off, that next day is wasted just recovering. You're like, I feel like shit. And then when you go back to work, you're like, fuck, I wish I had another day off so I could do something.
Yeah, you know.
It's a catch-22. It really is. That's one of the weird things about being young. I think what it is, do you get sick when you spin around in circles? Do you get nauseous?
Not really.
No? So I never did when I was young, but I do now. So if I like sit in the chair and I just spin in circles, I will get nauseous when I stop.
Damn.
I think it's because of drinking too much too many times. I think that your brain starts to
associate the spins with the spins.
Yeah. Because I've been there a lot, mostly due to Four Locos. And you know what's fucked up about that story? Usually people have Four Locos story and it ends and begins with one instance. Mine continued over like 4 to 6 instances.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and like it was bad because you know that stuff is like drinking a bang with just fucking straight gasoline in it.
Yeah, energy drink with liquor.
And then we would mix them too. So you drink a purple, you drink a green one. Oh my god, I can feel it to this day. You know what I mean?
I was never a Four Loko guy. That stuff is crazy. I've had it in my younger days, but
it was bad. It was really bad. I was getting I remember, and what was always weird about me was like, all right, so before I drink, I'm sober, obviously, like mentally clear and everything.
Yeah.
As I start to drink, I get a little bit looser, I get a little bit more slurry. And then when I'm wasted and I'm puking in the toilet, I'm back to sober. So like I'm sitting there and I'm puking, and my buddy opens the door, he's like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm cool. Can you turn the lights off? Man, it's a little bright in here. And I go back to puking. And I was like, I don't know why, but I'm still me. No matter what happens to my body, I'm still there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That changed last year. I had my first blackout experience.
No shit.
I did.
Those are scary.
It was scary, yeah. It was scary.
I hate not being able to remember the stupid shit you did the night before.
I have a good one.
Hearing stories.
I have a good one.
Let's hear it.
So I had a roommate at the time. This was the only thing that I did bad to him, and I feel bad for it to this day. But I'm a little bit paranoid, so I always like lock the front door, put the deadbolt up when it's like 1 a.m., you know what I mean, before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And make sure to lock the door. I was drinking a lot, I guess, so I didn't realize my roommate wasn't home, and it was like 2 a.m., and I was cooking food. But here's the thing, I don't remember cooking food at all. What happened was I woke up the next morning and my phone was blown up and my roommate was like, hey, like, let me in. And he had to sleep in his car in the parking lot over the night. I know, I felt so horrible, but this has never happened to me before. Like, never. There's more to the story, though. Like, I wake up and my bathtub in my bathroom is filled with spaghetti and shrimp Alfredo. Like, solid. Like, I'm talking, like, I just cooked this shit and dumped it in there. So what that meant was when I ate it, I just went, like, I just inhaled it. I didn't chew. There was solid chunks of fucking shrimp. There was solid chunks of, like, spaghetti, because, you know, I don't got real Alfredo noodles. I'm not making them by hand, so I literally just used spaghetti. I dumped, like, some, I don't know, $3 Alfredo juice into it. And I ate it. Alfredo juice, yeah, the good stuff. But it was crazy because I remember looking in the bathtub. I'm like, that's whole spaghetti. And those are whole shrimp. I'm like, I didn't even chew it. Like, not even a little bit. It was a whole bathtub. So I ate like a fucking pot of this shit. And it just all came up. I don't remember puking at all. I don't know why I went to the bathtub. I guess it makes sense a little bit, but it was a bitch cleaning that shit up because it was all spaghetti.
Dried up spaghetti. Oh, Alfredo just chilling.
Yeah, and I ripped off. I got like a fake cabinet, which I don't understand why they do those. The fake drawers for your sinks.
Yeah.
Like, why are those even on there?
Beats the hell out of me, man. I know what you're talking about, though.
I woke up and one was missing.
You were trying to get in there. You're like, no, there's no way this is fake.
I was like, let me in!
No, I can't, you know, I've had a couple blacked out nights, but...
That was my first and only one, man.
You know, I wish I could tell you guys, but I was blacked out. I've heard stories, but, like, nothing was too drastic. Like, it doesn't matter how intoxicated I am. I'm me. I'm the same person.
It's cool.
I'm not an angry drunk. Yeah. I'm not sloppy. I'm just chilling. Yeah. I might get more quiet in my head, but that's just me. I'm always quiet in my head.
Yeah, you don't like turn into like an Andy Dick or something like that, where you just transition into this whole different personality.
Persona, yeah.
Yeah, there's some people like that. You know what I mean? And you always wonder, like, it's a little bit scary, alcohol, isn't it? Because it's like, you sometimes are in a bad mood when you drink. And you realize it. You're like, this is not good. Like, I shouldn't be drinking because I'm in a depressive state. You really should only drink when you're in a good, happy medium.
I believe that.
Yeah, and, like, every now and again, I'm very self-aware. Like, if I start drinking, I'm like, man, I wonder if, like, can you become bitter subconsciously and then start expelling that to a point to where you can't control it? I'm sure that's probably what happens with a lot of people.
Especially that blackout phase. That's when it all comes out.
Yeah, probably.
What's that saying? Drunk man's thoughts or sober man's whatever. Drunk man's saying is a sober man's thoughts.
Drunk man's sayings is sober man's thoughts. Something like that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I've never heard that one. That's a pretty good one. I was drinking a lot at that time. I tried transitioning into sobriety for the majority, like no nicotine, nothing.
Right.
I just started drinking. And then I was drinking like every night, and it was sketchy because like one day I remember thinking like, I'm not going to drink a beer tonight. And I was like not okay with that idea. And I was like, that's bad. I need to stop now before this keeps going. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Definitely don't want to turn into a daily habit.
Yeah, daily habit.
Even if you're a functional alcoholic, like there has to be a point.
I was drinking IPAs too. You know IPAs? You ever?
I'm not into that. You know, I'm kind of standard. I don't like getting fancy. I hate craft beers.
Have you drank?
I like
IPAs?
Tequila, Patron. That's my drink.
Have you drank an IPA?
Not that I know of.
That's surprising.
Wait, Jamaican? There's
crazy.
No, not Jamaican me crazy. Are those Seagrams?
Yeah, the Seagrams.
No, it's like Red Stripe or something. It comes from Jamaica. I think that's an IPA. I've had that.
That sounds familiar.
It's really good. It was good.
I hate IPAs, to be honest, but they're good if you don't kind of work the next day and you don't want to drink a whole lot, you can drink like 1 or 2 IPAs and you're fucking drunk. Yeah. Like 1 IPA is like 2 beers or 3 beers put into one because they brew it with lactic acid. So it creates this higher alcohol content, but it also creates a higher dehydration process in your body because you're drinking lactic acid. Lactic acid is like when you're working out and your arms start to hurt. That's lactic acid. Yeah,
shit.
That's lactic acid going through your arms.
God, why would
That's
they
what
make
you're
beer
drinking.
with that?
Because humans are fucking stupid. I mean, alcohol as is. Did you know? So I'm not sure if this is proven or not, whether it's speculation, but did you know why alcohol originally they believe was created more or less? I mean, obviously for the mind-altering effects that we probably stumbled upon it, but why for the majority it was such widely used? And I guess let me specify to mead. Do you know like the things about mead? So they would use like honey and like they would ferment like juniper berries, depending on the region. I mean, it's different where you go, but I think honey was a very specific fermentation process part of it. But the whole point was there was like no good water filtration. So if you drank alcohol, it was sterilized. So everybody was drinking alcohol because it was the safest drink to drink.
Yeah, better than water.
Yeah, because like you could go and like get fucking, I don't know, MRSAs from fucking watering hole over there. So everyone was drunk. And what was funny was coffee was invented in the 13th century, and I believe it was like the king of Britain at the time or something when coffee first got introduced. I do know that coffee was created by a 13th century Yemen sheep herder, and it was like 2 a.m. or something, and the sheep were screaming. And he goes outside and he sees they're all eating off of a coffee berry bush. So he decided to like brew it into a stew and he would eat it. And then it would give you all day energy when you eat it. And we drink it, ironically. But when you introduce it with a food like a bread and a fat, it actually stays in your system for like 10 hours.
I mean, that makes sense.
But he figured it out because his goats would go on fucking ape shit in the middle of the night. He's like, what the fuck? The goats are just eating the shit.
All caffeine, no.
Yeah. They're all running around. I mean, that's what they think everything happened. But so I don't get on a contingent because I do that. Going back to the mead, when the King of Britain first heard about coffee, he made it illegal because he thought it would be an insane idea to have people sit around and communicate with their thoughts. He wanted everybody to be drunk.
I actually read that somewhere. Yeah. Like when people actually start, they want them to.
Yeah, they wanted them to be dulled. Yeah.
Yep.
They were like, "What? You're gonna talk normal, sober? What's wrong with you?" I mean, at the time, think about it. Like, why would you talk sober? Why wouldn't you want to be under some influence? I mean, if we're talking 13th, 14th century, we're talking like you got syphilis. You know.
You're probably gonna die.
Yeah, you probably live to like 30. You know, give or take. You know, people are coming and going, murdering, fucking conquering. So why wouldn't you want to be? That probably would be a really weird thing. That would be like all of a sudden North Koreans making podcasts. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, why do you want to do it then and there? But I guess it's just got to happen some way, right?
Going back to that, like, think about the crazy motherfuckers, like half the shit that we eat nowadays, the first person to make it, like, and I'm talking about the weird shit you make, like, I don't know,
puffer fish.
Well, they had to take a lot of tries to
like,
find out what's edible.
Who was the guy to figure out you can eat it? Who's that guy?
And it's only a sliver that's edible.
That guy was a fucking middle finger to that society. They told him, "You fucking dude, these guys died," and he was like, "Nah, I'm telling you, we're gonna cut this part out, and I'm gonna try to eat it."
Yep.
For what point? You know what I mean? Maybe it was like a torture thing. Like maybe some guy accidentally cut it correctly. He's like, he's not dead yet. He's like, I feel great. It tastes pretty good. And they were like, oh shit. Well, we'll kill him and then we'll just start cooking this shit. I don't know.
Yeah, some shit. Yep, sip time.
Black and tan's pretty good, ain't it?
It really is though.
There's no aftertaste. It's very it's almost like
it's
water.
Not bitter.
It's almost like water.
And you know, I'm not normally a dark beer kind of guy. Like, I don't know. I've had Guinness once, and that was terrible.
It's not Guinness. There's no hops to this.
None.
This is almost like they almost put coffee grains in it just to make you think it was darker. It's like you really just bought tea, alcoholic tea with coffee grains in it.
Hey, it's good.
Mm-hmm. So what you up to? What's
Absolutely
new in your life?
Nothing.
Nothing?
You know, I'm trying to get an apartment soon. First apartment on my own soon, so.
It's a rough one, man. But eventually, like, you're just...
That's why I need more friends. I don't want to be stuck in my house on my days off, like, bored.
No. I am the exact same way. I mean, we communicated about this a little bit outside of this. But, like... So you know the movie, you know the TV show The Office?
Yeah,
You've
love
watched
that show.
it? Yeah.
Great
So
show.
I watched it and I remember wanting to feel like I was a Jim, but realizing I'm actually Michael Scott.
Hey, that's okay.
Yeah.
That show wouldn't be the same without Michael. Everybody needs a Michael Scott.
Yeah, I'm Michael Scott. I'm Michael Scott more than I'm a Jim. And I was watching, and you know, the episode that hit me was the episode that they were talking, and he's playing his old tapes on this TV, and he's like, "When I grow up, I'm gonna have an orphanage, so I can have 10 friends, and they'll never be able to leave me, and I'll always be." And I'm sitting there, I'm like, "I'm alone," and I'm like, "That's me." So that's kind of what this podcast is about, man. Because I think we're in a weird point in time in human history. I think this is such a personality disordered time that really humans are figuring out who they are in this picture of life going forward. I think that a lot of our history has been on like momentum and inertia. And it wasn't until like 2010 that everyone stopped and was like, now what? Because now we're pretty much in the highest rate of technology. Like we have like the best technology out there. There's more entertainment, more availability, and more capability for like different jobs or different medias or different things you can do in your life that it almost seems like the abundance of that gives you this feeling of not knowing where to land. And I think that like I realized one day, because I don't work out anymore, but I want to start working out again and everything, because I know that working out has such a significant benefit on my energy levels and my mood and everything. Like if I don't work out, I literally feel as though like I'm a 400-pound man. Like if I walk up some stairs, I feel out of breath. And it's just that little thing just boosts your testosterone, boosts your energy levels. But the point that I was getting to this, what was I fucking talking about? We were talking about
where we are as a civilization.
Civilization going through a personality change. Yeah. So I realized one day that was it. I realized one day that I was like, well, one day I'll start working out. One day I'll get there. And then I was like, oh shit, this is probably the most energy I'm ever going to have. This is the most energy I'm ever going to have left. Every day you're going to lose more and more. Like this is the most motivation I'm going to have. This is the most muscle development time and energy development and mental development time I have left is right now.
You know, that's a great way to think about it, because I'm the same way, like, next week's a new week, my next day off, like, I procrastinate everything.
Yeah, I'm a bad procrastinator. I feel you 100% on that. And I just thought about it. I was like, man, this is the most energy I'm going to have. I'm like, I think this is what happens to people. They put stuff off. And then when they're ready to do it, they're not in the shape that they should be in. Because when they were ready, they didn't do it. And I'm like, my biggest fear is to let life go by. And I'm a little bit of like a spiritual freak here and there. So like I got some quirky ideas on stuff. I do kind of believe in this idea of like reincarnation to a degree. But that being said, I don't give less importance or more importance to this life. I still see this life as being the point. You know what I mean? Because this is the one I remember. This is the one I'm doing. Yeah. Doesn't matter about the next one. Doesn't matter about what happens when you die, because this is the life you got right now. This is the one that matters. So that being said, I don't think I can take the easy way out. I think like too much has happened to me for me to be able to actually allow my brain to be okay with settling. And I think that's a blessing and a curse. I think it's one of those things that occurs to a person under like a lot of stress when they're young that can either drive them to a very successful position or crush them. You know what I mean? We see it in a lot of people. And like too much of that stress can really just drop somebody. But that stress, when you see those people who've gone through that stress, it makes them the best type of people.
Right.
But it's a fine line between too much and just enough. That being said, what do you think about parenting?
Parenting?
Because I think about this all the time.
Well, alright, there's a lot of ways you could go at this. Just parenting in general. For me, honestly, I think I'd be a great parent, alright? I believe in fucking, obviously, discipline, alright? I'm not gonna let my kid grow up to be some little shit-talking, like, no respect. Like, I don't know. Given I am 22 now, in my generation, I hate them. the world nowadays, honestly, it's pretty crazy how
It's
shit
crazy.
is.
It's crazy. It's a new age of human.
Yeah, I'm an old soul. I'm glad for the way I was raised.
Yeah.
It's in parenting. I'm gonna raise my kid however I was raised. Fuck yeah, dude.
I feel you there. You're like a 40-year-old trapped in the body of a 20-year-old trying to live out the 20-year-old's life, but you're still a fucking mental 40-year-old. So now you're thinking like, fuck, which age range do I get tracked to? You know what I mean? That's such a weird thing about our generation is that like something changed. You know what I mean? Because like past generations, there was a lot of dependency on like being the same age or hanging around the same age group. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
yeah.
that's what it. I mean, at least that's what they conveyed to us on movies. And it's weird to say that, but when you think about how you learned history in America, it's this weird golden shimmery fucking history. You know what I mean? Like we did this battle for this. But when you watch what's happening in the modern day right now, and you think, how are they going to write this in the history book?
It's going to be one-sided for sure.
And like I think about it, I'm like, well, fuck, that's probably how all history kind of went for the most part. And then when you think about it, like I really sat here and I thought about it, and I was like, well, if you think about it, like my parents were probably born like, you know, mid 80s, give or take.
Right.
Probably. I might be off by that by a little bit. 69. I don't fucking know. Let's say 50s, 20. Yeah, 80, 75, give or take. So their parents, let's say they had their kid, let's say they're like 45 at the time, right? Go back 45 years from 1970. 45 years from 1970s to 1930s. That's like World War I with Germany. When you think about those screenshots of how people dressed, when you learn, and I mean, I'm stretching the timeline a little bit, but the Industrial Revolution was a little bit right before that. I mean, fucking electricity, but was invented by like not electricity, but the light bulb was invented by Thomas Edison. I'm pretty sure it was in 1875-ish. I'm pretty sure 1875-ish. I'm gonna look that up real quick as we're talking about it.
It's crazy too how shit we did, like how you were saying earlier, we grown as a civilization so fast, so quick. With that being said, like we obviously still have a lot more room to grow. All right, like shit, we still got wars going on in other countries. Once we all come together as a civilization, learn to harness the energy
of the sun through a Dyson sphere,
dude, whatever. All right, and then we obviously up our civilization. You know,
1879.
Right.
I was close. Well, I just looked this up like 2 weeks ago. Stacy and I were having a conversation about it. But you know what's funny about Thomas Edison? How old do you think he lived to?
He was older for back in the day for sure. He had
born in
been at least
1840.
like 67.
83 years old.
Really? Okay.
83. He was born in 1840. He lived to 83.
Good man. I know he did a lot of crazy shit. I know he was a player back in his day.
Well, apparently he was deaf. No one talks about that. I just learned about this. So Thomas Edison
Got an old Beethoven with electricity.
Yeah. He was completely deaf in one ear, and he was mostly deaf in the other ear. And it was due to mid-ear infections, constant mid-ear infections throughout his life that went untreated, that he just lost his hearing. And I'm pretty sure they talked about that he would be able to bite down. He would bite down on a piece of wood attached to like a piano or a player, and he could feel the vibrations through his jawbones, which translated into crystal clear audio into his skull, because the vibration works the exact same way. They actually theorize that the military probably does, and if they did, it would work quite well, just to put a little tiny like rice-like receiver in your jaw that vibrates, because then you'd be able to completely hear the communications going through, but it would never actually make a sound.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to talk to people just by using the vibrations in your jaw, but also hear them in your own head just through your jaw. So you'd be able to do covert ops.
That's some crazy shit.
Yeah, but he did that. He was like one of the first people to do that. So he'd bite down on some wood so that he can actually hear the music playing.
What a fucking legend.
He said that his lack of hearing, he thinks made him more focused and had him less distracted in life.
I believe it. You know, you lose one sense, it enhances your others.
Yeah. What if his like sense of smell went up really, really like high, and he's like, "Fuck, it smells bad in here. Like, this sucks."
People don't shower back then.
Yeah, they're pissing and shitting in the streets. Like he's like, "Oh God, oh God."
We need to change this shit. Starts developing the plumbing system.
Yeah, he changes from electricity over to plumbing the second it snows. You know, it's unknown, but Thomas Edison actually manufactured the waterproof concrete. Yeah. No, the Romans. Did you know the Romans created a form of waterproof concrete? Which, I mean, I might be a little outdated on this, but they couldn't figure out how they made it because it's still around, still working, and we ourselves cannot create concrete that's that durable.
So what do you mean by waterproof concrete? I guess shit that doesn't get eroded or whatever.
Yeah. So you can build it and place it in the water, and it will not erode itself.
Okay.
But it's still there. Like the Colosseum's still there, and they're like, we don't even know how to make that. And so, like, here's another thing. Did you know the Colosseums, they used to fill them with water and have naval battles?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, 100%.
That'd be interesting to go
That's how rockin' it was back then. People think that it was just lions and gladiators. No, they would fill up the fucking Colosseum with water because they had canals and plumbing and aqueducts. They had legit fucking plumbing. So they would fill up the goddamn aqueducts with water. It would fill up the base, and they would have boats in there firing cannons at each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It'd be dope as shit. I mean, it's really graphic, and you probably get hit with a cannonball. It's not like hockey where you can take a puck to the eye.
You don't want to pay for the good seats up front.
No. You want the far back so that you got a chance to dodge.
Yeah, right.
That might make it more entertaining. Instead of a kiss cam, you got like collateral cam.
Oh my god.
People like, just jumping.
A collateral cam.
Yeah, the dude's like on the top. Yeah, that shit was pretty dope, but it's scary at the same time because they had that, and then you know what happened? The fucking Rome and Empire burnt down, like literally burnt down. Like, it was made of concrete, but it burnt down. It was mostly due to social issues I believe after they killed Caesar, I think it took 200 years for Rome to fall, right? Because Augustus brought about the Golden Era, and Augustus's Golden Era was like 200 years of peace. But it was just kind of because they wanted to kill this dude off, and that was it. Like, that was literally the whole point. Like, it really wasn't that Rome was any more or less peaceful. It was just they achieved the goal that they wanted to do. So they called it 200 years of peace afterward.
Then the shit fucking went downhill after.
Yeah, and a lot of people get the timeline fucked up. Like, a lot of people think that it's like in my head, I remember growing up thinking that it went like hunter-gatherers, medieval, to Roman, to Renaissance, to now. That's not how it works. Apparently, how it works was, I mean, I'm skipping a ton. You know what I mean? But hunter-gatherers, some form of like medieval, to Roman, to medieval, to Renaissance, to us.
What's the difference between Renaissance and Roman?
So Renaissance was humanistic. They were really developing creativity. They were drawing human bodies accurately. Like, if you get depictions of the medieval, they did not have proportions down because there was no importance into actually achieving a craft. People had such shitty lives that they really didn't get the reward themselves from doing something because your life really didn't have reward, and so you couldn't really justify doing these things to a grand extent. But then when the Renaissance came about, the invention of the printing press came out, which technically came out prior to that, but the dude who invented the printing press, which I always get it confused, but I know it was John Gutenberg. John Gutenberg invented one of the printing presses. I get confused whether it was the first one or the second one, but the way the printing press worked was he invented the printing press, and then someone else came along and fucking made a metal one and copyrighted it. And he never copyrighted his for free distribution. So the guy who invented the printing press isn't known. So John Gutenberg's the only one that people know about. Yeah. And they used it for just Bible printing. And there's a theory on that they say that they think, you know how, obviously no one was educated to the point of reading, except for the churches at the time or like nobility. So there's a theory out there that the ability to read in your head didn't exist. It never existed. So these people were taught to be able to read in their head. It was a form of synesthesia they developed. Synesthesia is linking multiple senses to each other and creating a new sense out of multiple senses. So like you're looking at shapes on a piece of paper and you're turning them into sounds in your head.
No shit.
They don't think people were able to do that. So they think that that's why they saw them as saints and as gods, because they were able to like
look at images
and then tell you what it said, and no one else could do that. And the funny part is, you remember Hammurabi's code?
No
What was
idea
it,
what
like,
that is.
The 10 tablets, or not Mesopotamia. I mean, it could have been Mesopotamia, but there was I think it was around the times of like either Sumerian. I know it was around cuneiform for sure, but it was the original eye for an eye. That was where that came from. The guy who ran the area, he made these tablets that he put on a wall, and it was the laws to live by. But the funny part was the only people who were able to read were the educated ones, which 99% of the population wasn't able to read. So you would commit laws and be held accountable for them and not know the fucking legal system around it. And even if you did, it didn't matter.
It's fucked up. They didn't have good lawyers back then.
No, they had no lawyers. They had no lawyers. But they did have the eye for the eye. But it got a little sketchy when you started talking about rich people versus poor people, because then there started becoming some prejudices on how one was treated versus the other on the execution. But it was like if you stole like a goat from your neighbor and they would like cut your hand off, or like if you slept with your neighbor's wife, then like depending if you're rich or if you're poor, different circumstances would outcome. It didn't matter. You didn't really know the whole term. But
shit, that's kind of still around today.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. They say the average American is educated to a 3rd grade reading level, and writing level is 2nd grade.
I'm there. I believe it.
What, 2nd or 3rd?
Fucking both, probably. I read. I know how to read. I just hate reading.
I know how to read.
Slow.
I know how to read. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Go to a fucking restaurant and just point at the pictures.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody does that anyway.
For the most part.
Do you ever think that like maybe language will disappear at a certain point?
For sure.
I
mean,
it's inevitable.
Like, look how much the English language, like, I don't know, we changed, we got slang and shit like that. Some terms people don't use that they used to use. For Old English coming into New English, like, obviously this New English is going to be Old English.
And we got texting now. And texting is a form of communication with no words said at all, vocally. So, like, at a certain point, I guess you could theorize that, like, there will be no more talking. There'll be transmissions through just head impulse.
I could see that. You know, what is it? Elon Musk. Crazy motherfucker. What is he? I forget what it's called.
Neuralink.
Yes, Neuralink.
Neuralink.
Put it in your skull, a chip in your head.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. All right, I don't know if I'm.
You don't want to be the tester for it. You don't want to be the first guy. You want to be like the millionth guy.
But let it get approved by FDA or whatever the hell the food. FDA, don't they handle food?
FDA, yeah, Food, Drug, and Alcohol. Yeah, no, Food, Drug Administration. I'm thinking of DEA.
DEA.
Yeah, the DEA and the FDA are in cahoots. That's why the heroin and cocaine was in all the medicines back in the day.
It was.
You weren't sick for long. You were like feeling bad. They were like, here's cocaine, marijuana, opium, whatever you need.
Now get back to work, champ.
In one drink. Just chug half this bottle, you're good to go. Smoke a pack of cigarettes on the way to work and make sure your arms don't get stuck in that machine.
Oh my god.
That was life. That
was it.
You ever seen pictures of like old people from, not old people, but like young people from older generations?
What about them?
They look... It's a weird transition growing up. You know what I mean? Because when you're a kid, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember adults looking big. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was people like half big. Their height.
Well,
looking up at everybody.
They looked wider. They looked bigger. You were like, you could tell there was a difference between you two. And like once you reach that size, you're like, are we all kids pretending to be adults? You know what I mean? And you look around and you're like, fuck, that's what's going on. And then you start meeting people. You're like, and you put these standards in your head, like, well, at this age they'll be this way. At this age they'll be this way. And then you fucking meet like a 50-year-old who's like worse off than you are, and you're like, oh shit. So it doesn't get better automatically. You got to work hard at that shit.
Oh, for sure.
That's a scary slope, man. It's all momentum. You know what I mean? You got to like fucking really push hard. And that's like one of the things that like I'm very lucky, like we were talking about, with my childhood. It was very difficult, but it made me who I am. And I can't imagine how I would be if I had a good childhood.
Right.
Like how many things would be different.
I was telling my mom the other day, like if we were rich, like I don't know.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I
it'd
wouldn't
be
have
totally
to work for
different
anything.
Bobby.
Yeah, it would. I
Yeah.
would not. I would probably be just like the rest of my generation.
Yeah, man, could you imagine, like, just knowing that if you were given a different starting point, you would be a different person each one, is the reality check that we are all probably the same fucking person, just living different lives. I think your personality is a byproduct of your life experiences, but I think that this consciousness is like a Wi-Fi frequency. I don't think it gives a fuck how many people are out there. I think that living organisms just develop these receivers for them, just like how living organisms, I think I just watched like a documentary. There was like 8 different ways eyes have been developed in the animal kingdom, and they've all been developed from scratch, not related to each other or their own genetics, but they all came to the same conclusions for the most part, except for like goats and octopi. But they all came to the same fucking resolution, the same crystals. They all use the same crystals for the retinas, the same rods. I don't think consciousness gives a fuck how many people are out there. I think that it's just a matter of a signal being sent out. I think we are all this weird being that just picks up on this signal that allows us to move, just like how we're able to pick up on food to give us energy to walk. I think it's the same shit. I just don't think it matters, because a lot of people are like, you know, good thoughts don't save babies from like burning buildings. You know what I mean? Like, positivity ain't gonna prevent that from happening. But I think that it does have a lot to do with your own life. And I mean, if you really just think about it at base level, if you allow yourself to think about like all the negative, you're just miserable. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And like I was saying, this is the life that matters. So this is the one you gotta work on. And my mom and dad were batshit crazy, so I got a really, really good example of what my future can be if I don't fucking work against it.
You're not wrong.
Man, and it's so hard too, because you know, you start talking to people, especially with relationships, when you meet somebody who had a similar childhood from you, and you're dating that person, almost always they haven't gotten to where you're at. It's like if you guys had the same childhood, you're 2 different people. And that's the freakiest part, because you relate to each other over that one little thing, but the outcomes of who the 2 of you are. And like, if you think that you figured this stuff out doing this stuff, and you try to help them do the same thing, they're not that same person. And they're not going to be able to do that unless they're ready to do that. And it's so fucking confusing being with that person, thinking that you can help them because you're helping yourself, knowing that people won't help themselves till they're ready. That was something that I had to kind of come to terms with recently.
I came to that conclusion a while ago. I know exactly where you're coming from. I'm a big mind over matter person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything, so to say, is how you perceive your reality. Like how you're saying, you're in the bad mood, and then I don't know that how your thoughts reflect. Like how people at work are always like, Bobby, you know, you got such a great attitude. It's like, 'cause dude, I choose not to think about the bad shit that goes on. Like, I just...
And even if you are, you're like working effort into making sure that you can at least force yourself to try not to. Like, don't ever act a different way than you feel. That's one thing that I fucking learned. And honestly, XXX Tentacion kind of told me that. He, at the end of one of, you know what I'm talking about? He's a rapper. He died last year.
Yeah, I know who he is. I've never really watched too many of his...
He's got a controversial past due to his abuse with his girlfriend that he did. Well, you know, there's a lot of bad stuff in the back, but he was one of the first people who I looked at and I saw myself. He was like the first person I was like, holy shit, there's someone else out there that's got the same fucking soul as I do.
Mindset and all.
Well, yeah, because he was running up to people. There was videos, and he was like running up to people in their face. He's like, what the fuck you gonna do? Fucking shoot me, shoot me, shoot me. He's in their face, and they got a gun. He's like, fucking shoot me, shoot me. And it was like, you knew where he was. He had nothing to lose because his life wasn't that good. And his life was based on the honor of what he perceived himself to be. So if he was going to die in that moment, you look at it, you're like, that's fucking stupid. There's no reason to. But unless you come from a life like that, you would not realize that that's probably a more honorable death than any other death that you could perceive in your own life. He was a real inspiration to me, but he had an end of his song. He said, don't act happy if you're not happy. And he said, don't pretend not to be sad if you're sad. He said, be exactly who you are and wait for those emotions to come. And, you know, I went through a transitionary period at work where I started recessing. I went through a depression period. You know, and, you know, I had to talk to my boss about it. I was like, look, I just want you to know, like, I'm going to be quieter. Like, I'm just going through this thing. I was like, it's not really an inflection, but it's like, I can't pretend that this stuff isn't eating me up. The reason I'm able to do all this stuff is because of my overactive brain. But that overactive brain also is my biggest fucking curse. I was like, so just leave me the time. It took me like 3 months to get back, and I got back. But you cannot act some way you don't feel. You know what I mean? And I think it's giving yourself the credit to understand that if somebody makes you feel a certain way, then you should leave that person at that moment. You know what I mean?
For sure.
He was a cool dude, and I remember watching the videos, and it was fucked up because I knew he was going to die the next year when I first found him. I was like, I knew he was going to die because those type of people burn out quick. Like when Juice WRLD came around. Are you a fan of Juice WRLD?
I've never really listened to too much of his music.
Oh, Jesus.
My friends all did.
Oh, Jesus. He's amazing. But you got to start at the beginning. It's almost like you got to be on the journey with him.
Right.
When his first song, All Girls Are the Same, came out, it was fucking hitting. I remember sitting there. I was like 20 years old, crying, drinking. And I'm just sitting there crying, listening to the song. I just play. Because, you know, I think it's good to cry every now and again. You know what I mean? I think
nice,
sometimes, I think sometimes you just gotta listen to the saddest songs on the planet and just make yourself fucking blubber, and then you're done, and then it's good.
You feel great afterwards,
yeah.
always.
Yeah. He was really cool though. He was really cool, and he was my favorite artist. And when he died, it really affected me. Like he was the only person who ever affected me. You know when like people said like David Bowie died, they were like, oh, or Michael Jackson, like. I never got that. You know what I mean? I'm just like, it's a person. But when X died, I was like, damn.
So surreal.
Yeah, and then I knew Juice WRLD when I first started listening to him. I showed my buddy to him, and my buddy got into him. My buddy came from that era that was listening to like 303, Green Day, all those bands. And I got him into rap, and I got him in through Juice WRLD. And I was like, yeah, it's just, you know, he's going to die next year. He was like, you think so? I'm like, I know so. I was like, it's just, you hear his music. I was like, it's not getting better. Like, his emotions aren't getting better. And I was like, have you ever heard that, like, actors talk about how their brain gets fucked up after doing too many roles?
No, but you could definitely probably look at Johnny Depp's.
Yeah.
How he's, I don't know, so many different characters and how he likes to get into character.
Every role he does, he gets another bracelet.
Is that a fact?
He's got like an ass guy. He's got bracelets. He's got jewelry and everything. Every role he does, he gets another one. It's like Morgan Freeman getting a freckle every time he talks.
That's great.
But yeah, I think it was. I think the first person I heard say this was the girl from Hunger Games. What's her name? Jennifer Aniston? No.
What do you mean?
I was gonna say. Let me look it up. Yeah.
I don't know celebrities.
I should know her name. She had that
I'm terrible with that.
She had that whole leak that happened to her, and then she disappeared. I think she let it get to her. What was her name? You're right about Katniss. Candace? Phineas. Jennifer Lawrence. I was gonna say Jennifer Aniston is what I was gonna say. I knew that was wrong though immediately. Yeah, she said that like she was doing the Hunger Games movies, she got to a really dark place in her head. And she had to work on getting out of that dark place. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, like you put yourself in that role and you really, really try to achieve that role. And you get yourself in the mind state of that. What if that movie's a bad movie? Like a movie about like somebody's being abused by their boyfriend, living in the hood. You know what I mean? When you put yourself in that role, you probably pull from experiences in your own life. And you probably start developing and embellishing those into bigger deals. How many roles can you do where you forget who you are and where those roles filled in?
Damn.
You know what I'm saying?
That's some mind-blowing shit.
So to be an actor is a time limit. And there's a time limit on it because how much can you do till you lose who you are?
Right.
And then you see like Britney Spears, Justin Bieber, these child actors who grow up in it and they just lose it. They just shave their head, identity crisis, Jaden Smith, XXX, they can't handle it. And you gotta wonder why. And so like when Juice WRLD was making that music, I'm like, the goal is to achieve something and then grow. He wasn't growing in his style of music. And this is really like, a lot of people are going to be like, you're so wrong, this is different, this is different. What I mean, overall vibe, and he even would admit it himself, is he likes making heartbreak music. Not only that, he had a very, very controversial relationship with his girlfriend, Allie, who there's have you heard the conspiracy on it?
No, I haven't.
There's a conspiracy that she was a Mexican drug lord, and she actually brought the drugs onto the plane and alerted the... do you know how he died, by the way?
Shooting down here in Florida.
Not XXX, Juice WRLD.
Oh, Juice WRLD drug overdose by, I think, Xanax or lean.
It was, I'm not sure if they came to the conclusion on what it was, because I think it was a combination of things, but he overdosed either on the plane or in a hotel room after the plane landed. There's a conspiracy theory that she was like a drug lord and called the actual airport and told them there's drugs on the plane, and then locked herself in the bathroom so that he couldn't flush any of the stuff down the toilet, so that he would have to take them and eat them.
Damn.
And when you watch videos of her,
I mean, bitch.
That could be wrong. You know what I mean? It's a conspiracy. But when you watch the videos, there's something off about her, and you know what I mean. Like when your whole thing is making videos about you listening to your ex-boyfriend's music while he's dead and crying and just live streaming you smoking, like there's something fucked up with you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what are you doing? Like you're ruining your own life. Like you need to move on. It's not, the point is not to dwell on this. You know what I mean? But not only is she dwelling on it, she's making money doing it. And that shit pisses me off. Because you know what that relationship was? We all know what that relationship was. She really didn't treat him correctly and really didn't like him. And he knew that. But she was the most attractive and the closest he's ever gotten to a real relationship. So he would do anything for her. You knew she would never even give a fuck if something happened to him. And that's sad to see that on the other side just going into it. But I always got this weird feeling about it. My sister would watch her on her live streams and I was like, something's wrong there. Something's wrong. She can't keep making these videos. For one, that's not healthy for her, but two, that's not what Juice WRLD would want ever. Could you imagine Juice WRLD wanting that? Or like being okay with that?
Yeah,
if she was doing something similar to that while they were dating, it would be a completely different relationship. So I kind of believe it a little bit, but conspiracy is conspiracy on that part.
Yeah.
I gotta piss.
Feel ya.
Are you cool holding down?
Yeah, let's go. I'll talk to him.
Alright.
Fuck.
I'm gonna grab a big
Better clip this.
I'll be right back.
Sorry, Julian. I suck at this.
You taking a piss too?
Yeah. I guess we're already doing this.
I looked at my phone and I had like literally like 40 texts.
You want this one?
Huh? Beer? Sure. I don't know what the fuck's going on. You hear that? A stomping party?
A stomping party?
You know where you invite a bunch of friends over just to stomp? Or maybe that's my cat going crazy. Solid. That worked. I figured it out. So you need a pause and unpause button, apparently. You can't just click pause and then click pause again to unpause it. No, you need a pause and unpause button, apparently.
Like you said, at least you figured that shit out now.
At least I figured that out. Yeah. Could you imagine like an hour from... Fuck. Like a whole hour gone. That, man. And I know that's going to happen. That's the fucked up part. I know that's going to happen. You know what I mean? There's going to be days that this shit just isn't going to record. You know what I mean? There's going to be days that I'm like, oh, shit. So you know what probably is the move? Look, it's good that we're talking about this. What probably is the move is I get a separate recorder for audio. Just in case.
Just the audio recordings.
Yeah, just in case.
I wouldn't mind that.
Because then if this fails, at least I can get the actual audio uploaded. So that might not be a bad idea. The one thing I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do is how I'm going to support the bandwidth to be able to get this quality, the same quality. I mean, my computer's pretty good. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's got a decent graphics card. It's got an i7. So it should be able to handle it. But it's got to record like it's doing right now. That takes a decent amount of GPU power. That takes probably 50%. And then to live stream with the internet on top of it, you got to kind of balance the bit rate between what they see and what you're able to record so that performance doesn't halter on the computer so you don't get skipping or lagging.
See, that's one thing. I'm not too good with the old technical smarts of shit, man. Like,
dude, you know what it is?
I would just buy a random computer and try
it, yeah. You know what it is? So this is a big gap difference in our generation versus other generations. People ask, like, how do you know how to do that? And you know what hit me? We grew up with Google. They didn't. You know what I mean? So, like, when you're wondering something, you already had a cell phone. You were growing up a teenager with a cell phone already. So, like, when you're wondering something, you just looked it up.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you had to trust somebody. You know what I mean?
Word
like,
of mouth.
You remember in, like, elementary school, you're like, that dude's got glasses. He's always, like, answering in class. You're like, yeah, he's probably right. You know what I mean? You never question it. But nowadays, you're like, no, hold on. You're fucking wrong. Hold on. I'm going to pull this up right now. You're starting arguments for fun. You know what I mean? But, like, everything I learned how to do, I swear to God, was just Google searching. So, like OBS, like, when I'm using record, I would just Google search, like, how to record. Or like how to change bit rate. Like that's it. Whenever I'd run into like video editing, how to make a fade. Search that, watch that video. Then I got to do that. You just got to dedicate the time and really retain it when you do it. But it's easy to do, and it's funny to see people who don't know how to do that.
I'm a big self-teacher, you know, like that's what I love about another thing growing up, I guess, in this time and era. I know I talk shit about it, but like it's a fucking blessing. This shit is so much easier.
This is the best time to be alive, I would say so far.
Oh, for sure. So
far, it's the best time to be alive. And you know, it's fucked up. It's a really funny thing that humans have where like, you're like, man, I hate my job. But when you think about it, you're working less than you've ever worked in human history. You're making decent living. You're actually pretty healthy. You actually get free time. There's not people with swords coming over fucking killing you. You don't got to worry about like protecting your daughter and your kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can pretty much walk around any street relatively safe compared to any time in history. Even when you're in the hood, you're more safe than any other time in the history of walking anywhere. So it's like every now and again you got to tell yourself like, that's true. I got no, you know, I don't got to worry about guys on horseback coming over here just to kill us this week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, jobs suck. You know what I mean? So
we got new struggles.
Yeah, we got new struggles. And I hate people who say like, oh, there's kids starving in Africa. You shouldn't be complaining. I think this is bullshit. I think everything's based in reference, like theory of relativity to the fullest. I think that if you've had this happen to you, and someone would say, well, I've had this happen, this is much worse. I think it doesn't, you guys can compare it, but I think this person's life is equally as bad as this person's life is, because even though they didn't have that experience, they had this experience, and they still took it the same way. It doesn't matter how bad it was. Like, oh yeah, my dad used to hit me. Oh, my dad hit me all the time. I'm fine. It's like, well, you're not. You're saying you're fine after getting hit a ton. You know what I mean? Then on the other hand, it's like a catch-22. Like we were talking about parenting, and that's really gotten me thinking, man. That's really got me thinking. Because like we kind of talked about a little bit, but this is pretty much the most human people have been raising kids ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like my brother doesn't spank his kid like at all, like no hitting, nothing. And obviously my household was very different growing up. but it's a real tricky thing to watch because he's acting out and everything, and you really gotta wonder, like, what's the balance? You know what I mean? Like, they use timeout and stuff for him. He's like, I don't care. I just go hang and play with my toys.
Yeah, you gotta sit in a corner for a
I'm
little
like,
bit.
what's the fine line? Like, what's the fine line? You know what I mean? Because if we were in like a hunter-gatherer tribe, you would want to be as hard on your kid as possible to make sure they're going to be able to handle themselves. In this day in life, it's like you're trying to figure out how hard do I want to be on them, or how hard do I need to be on them. And that always got me, man. Is it possible to raise somebody without hitting them and them not being a psychopath?
Come to find out, I don't know.
Because the biggest thing that he's got an issue with is because he's never got spanked or anything, he doesn't understand that other people are stronger than him, so he just punches you. Like, he swings, and he's pretty good at it, too. So he doesn't realize, like, he's not even close to the amount of pain he could feel from somebody else. So it's like, how do you teach that to somebody? How do you teach them to have good morals without actually demonstrating the negative, adverse teaching habits?
I don't know, but like, so with the kids hitting and stuff, my nephew, he likes to fight. All right, me and him like to play fight and stuff like that, which I don't instigate it. He comes at me first.
Yeah, it's usually how it is.
I will only hit him as hard as he hits me, and when he gets stronger, he'll get tougher.
Yeah.
All right, like, it's not like I'm out here wailing on him. You know, I'll let him get a few good whacks in before I'm like, pow.
Yeah.
But only as hard as he gets me, and I don't see nothing wrong with that. Now I'm gonna get DCF called to my brother's house because I'm fighting my nephew.
Yeah, they're gonna have this child abuse going on. Yeah, that's funny about like young boys. Like when they're growing up, they love to fucking fight. They love to fight. That's like their thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's built into them. Like my nephew does jujitsu. That's probably the best thing for him because he's able to exercise it. And he's 6 years old, and he pulled a triangle. He pulled a leg lock triangle on a kid. We're sitting outside.
Poor other kid didn't know what was going on.
And it's because my brother practices with him, and my brother's really into jiu-jitsu, and now my brother's getting UFC fights, so he teaches my nephew everything. He was like, get in the side guard, okay, full mount. Like, he gets, you know what I mean?
Coaching him.
Yeah, he's coaching him, and we're watching. He was like, yo, is he throwing him in a triangle? Because he never taught him a triangle, but the triangle is like, I'm botching this, but essentially you get the head between the legs and then you throw one of your legs over in like a triangle over your kneecap or under your kneecap, and you hold on to that foot and you try to choke them with your crotch essentially. And he didn't really know what he was doing, but he was doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was holding them in a triangle, and it was like, yo, that's dope. He's like thinking outside the box. And my brother's like, I'm gonna get him ice cream just for trying it. It's
That's
pretty
great.
cool. Yeah.
That's funny.
And they're all ages there too. It's kind of cool. I think that's really important. I think some kind of discipline like that's really, really important and really good for people's development. I know, like, I did football when I was younger, and that was probably the greatest thing for my confidence, my mental structuring at that time, because it gave me an outlet to get out my anger, aggression, and also gave me an opportunity to prove myself to myself and other people. Because my parents didn't come to games. They never did. And if they did, they just sat in the fucking car because it was New York, and of course it's freezing out. So they just sat in the car and would watch like 78 feet off to the side.
Right.
And as a kid, that does affect you, you know what I mean? Because you got to then do it for yourself. But I loved football, and it was good because I was bullied till I was literally like 11 years old. And when I graduated middle school, they gave me, you know, those notes they have you write yourself, like 3 years down the line, they give it back to you. I got it when I entered, I think either 9th or 10th grade. And it said, I'm joining football because I hope I'll become popular and people will like me and I'll have friends. That's what I wrote. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you crazy son of a bitch, you did it. I'm like, you crazy son of a bitch, you did it. I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I did. That's exactly what happened. I was like, because I was bullied up till 6th grade, like bad. Like I was like, they would, and that's how they handle that in school systems in America is just horrible. Because I was put into speech and socialization classes because they were thinking there's something wrong with me if I'm getting jumped every day. There's something wrong with me. So they wanted to teach me on how I can talk to people differently and act differently so that I don't always cause myself to get jumped.
Kids are dicks. What do they not get about that?
But they would tell me, like, there's something wrong with you. Like, there's something wrong with you. Like, you're the reason. You're the only one getting jumped all the time. There's something wrong with you. And I think back, and I was like, I acted very flamboyant because I was probably in a manic state due to my depressive outcome. I probably had such a depressive life, I was acting manic during school. Like, I remember, because I was bullied, all you can do is back yourself. So you kind of perpetuate that, you know what I mean? So, like, I would fuck with people. I would kind of perpetuate it. I really would. Like, when you get bullied so much, that's your thing. You know what I mean? So you're like, fuck it, keep going. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna skip down the hallways so people got more of a reason to fucking bully me. But that was one weird thing. So I remember I got held back in 6th grade, and that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. My mom did it out of spite to be able to hold me back to, like, affect my social life and hurt me. But it helped me out greatly because what ended up happening was I started school year early, and then getting held back technically put me into my age group correctly. But it also gave me an example of the older people and the younger people, so I got a distribution of both of them when I was going in. When I got into 6th grade and I joined football, I literally just did it because I was short. I was like 5 foot tall. I was like 180 pounds. I was just fat, short, out of shape. And I remember doing football, and I would cry every ride home. Like, I would just cry, and I remember thinking, like, I'm a fake an injury when I'm on the field just to get out. I was telling them my heart was fluttering, stuff like that. A year went by, and then the next year I hit puberty, and it happened in one day. And it's really cool when these, like, circumstances happen to you. But I remember I was standing there, and we were practicing. It was 2 weeks, 3 weeks into practice. It was my second year doing it. And, of course, I'm second string because I was trash, and I just started the year prior. I didn't like memorizing plays, nothing. My thing with defense, I like just fucking that person up, getting back there, tackling that person. That was my thing. And I remember just one day looking at this person in front of me when we were doing practice. I'm like, I wonder if I can beat them. Like, I wonder if I hit him hard enough, like if I can beat him. And I did. Like, I knocked him right down. I tackled the dude before the snapper handed off to the quarterback, and I sacked him. And I was like, whew, that felt really good. And then I did it again, and I remember, like, my heart was like boom, 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 like that. I was like, and then I was like, but the adrenaline fucking stopped that. And I was like, I gotta do it again. So I would hit this level where I was exhausted, but then my adrenaline would fix it. So I was driven every play. So every play I'm like, and then I hit him, and then I get the adrenaline back, and I'm good to go, keep going.
Run another lap.
And the coach was like, he didn't learn this overnight. This happened from practice. And I'm like, this happened overnight. This was one of those things.
The flip switched in your head, and you're...
Yeah, and it was bad because, like, the coach's son was the one I was playing against, and I felt bad because the coach was like, do it again. And I'm like, oh no, you know what I mean? His son's right in front of me. So I'm like, and he was like, stop, what are you doing? And I was like, he said, you going easier isn't going to make you or him any better.
It's a damn good way to look at it.
So I was like, okay. So next time I just slammed him right back down. He started crying. Coach snapped the board in half, says our whole fucking team's losing to one person. And I'm like, this is the one thing in my life I've been given credit to be better than anybody else at. Like, all those years of bullying and everything, this is me. No one else can be there but me right then. And that fucking drove me. And I played football in rec league for 3 years. And then I had to go to modified because I couldn't cut weight anymore. They were raising the weight limit every year so that I could keep in the team. And then when we would go, we would trade weight with teams. So, like, a team would be like, hey, we'll give you like 5 to 10 pounds for your heaviest player if you give us 5 to 10 pounds for our heaviest player. Well, I was the heavy player. So I was the one who would get 5 to 10 pounds. So if the weight limit was 150, I would get like 160. They would allow me 160. But their heaviest guy was a short little fat kid. You know what I mean? So it's like I was in puberty, peak muscle structure, and
toppling over little kids.
And literally, they had me run the ball one time, and like a kid was pulling on my arm because they're like up to here on my height, and the kid was like pulling on my leg, and I had 4 kids on me. And I'm just running. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just running the ball. And he told me, he's like, I'm gonna hand you the ball. I'm like, what? And I'm standing there as running back. He hands me the ball. I'm like, okay, and I just started running, and they're hanging on to me, and I'm like, this is easy, I can just keep running.
Forrest Gump mode, just kept running.
Yeah, but I think that sports are really, really, really important. Did you ever play any sports?
I did a little bit of football for like, it wasn't.
That makes
It was
sense.
some pussy shit.
What
flag
position?
football. I was more defense, dude. I've been this same size since I was in 4th grade. Like I've been 6 foot, 230 pounds since 5th grade.
I didn't realize how tall you were, so you came in today.
That's the boots.
Is the boots?
They had a couple inches, yeah.
Okay, because I was like, what the fuck?
Damn, Bobby.
Have you seen the meme going around about Joe Rogan right now?
No.
So, like, you see the cameras? This is, like, all the memes. They're, like, he's, like, snack-sized. Because they're having real photos of... Ooh. They're having, like, real photos, and he's like, hey, guys, what's going on? And he's, like, he's just shorter than everybody. Apparently, he's only, like, 5'8", 5'10". Ooh.
Yeah. Peter.
Yeah, I spilled some beer. Yeah, I can grab some beer. That's when you know you might have drank too much. Well, good thing I got the fucking paper towels here.
Yep, nice and handy dandy.
So you played flag football. Did you play any other sports?
Yeah, for a little bit. I really wasn't too into it. Like, I did 1 season of that, and then, it really wasn't my cup of tea. I did, I was more skateboarding growing up.
Really?
Couldn't do shit.
Really?
I was the worst skateboarder ever. Don't get me wrong.
You were a poser? That's
not
not word.
I could do a shove it. I could do a shove it, and that's it,
push
right?
Shove it or pop shove it?
But I could go down some big ramps now.
Hey, I played Skate 3. I know what you're talking about. I know.
So, even, dude, if I get on boots, I could keep up with my brother on a bike. And I'm just steady, just going, dude. Like, I could go fast on a skateboard. And, that was my transportation to get around town and shit like that. BMXing, too, was another big thing of mine. I like motocross. Unfortunately, I was never able to have one, so all my buddies, I would just ride theirs all the time when we go to the track and shit.
You ever think about getting one now? Like a used one?
Yes, and I actually just recently, well, first off, it's fun to have, to ride around. I'm too fucking old now, dude. If I hurt myself, I can't work.
That's so true. That's so true, because injuries happen so easily now.
Yeah, you just can't recover, take a nap, and be good to go the next day. No, I'd be fucking sore. I get the arm pump or something, dude.
Yeah, you wake up and your fucking arm's dead, you gotta rotate. You're like, what's going on? I was in the shower the other day. I got a shower seat, because I don't stand in the shower. I sit on the seat in the shower. I've literally been this way my whole life. Like, I usually just sit on the floor, but that fucks your hips up, fucks your knees up because you're pressing. I usually take half an hour showers minimum just to relieve the tension. I wake up with really, really bad headaches. But I have a stool, right? And it's a tripod stool. And one day before work, this was like a month ago, I dropped my scrubber and I went to reach for it and the fucking feet came up from the bottom. And dude, I hit the ground so fast.
Holy shit.
You know what I mean? I went BAM! I hit that ground so fast that I didn't have time to react at all. And I hit so fast that, when you hit so fast on something, you don't really feel pain because it's so fast when it happens. You just you feel impact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I impacted so hard, I'm like, yo, I had to have fucked something up. I was like, I don't feel it yet. But then I go like this, I'm like, my neck! And my neck was kicked from here down my back. And I'm like, it was like 3 days. And I'm like, fuck, I fell in the shower and now I'm fucked up for 3 days? Like, what is it going to be when I'm 30 if I fall in the shower? That's going to be a surgery.
Holy shit, dude, you're not lying.
No. I blew my knee out now last year. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. Time flies by, man. Time flies by. Because I just remember starting that job. I started, I think, November 2nd was my first day, give or take. And so I was just looking through my pay stubs. And it's already been a year and 2 months. It's crazy. Time. Yeah, I was 22 when I had my last job. And I turned 23 here. But, our boss is the greatest person to ever exist. He's shaped me in my adulthood into a better version of me. And he's the only boss who's ever been that way. And he's the only boss. I know you guys don't see it that much because you're not there interacting with him all the time. You just see him in the morning. But he was the only person to look past my age and give me the opportunity based off my skills and ability rather than my age. All these jobs I've worked so hard for. And you know what it is. You work harder than everybody else, but it's a political game because this dude fucking hangs out with this dude after work that he's the one who ends up moving into it. When you're the one who did this, can do this, but you don't say anything about it because that's just who you are and that's your work ethic. And you're hoping your work ethic actually pays out in your favor. But you know what? It almost never does.
I know what that's like.
Almost never does. And did you know they said about millennials? They said that employment rates are so much lower now due to millennials. Higher now, but they're intermittent higher. So they go up and down. They fluctuate a lot more than they ever have in the past. And that's because millennials value employee loyalty more than any other generation has. And if they feel like they're not getting treated correctly, they will sacrifice their pay for their own quality of life. And no other generation has done that before.
I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
The last few jobs.
I've had 6 months on my resumes where you're stretching that 6 months where it's really probably 4 and you stretch it to 6 just so you can put 6 on your resume. And when I got hired at this job, he was like, why do you got 6 months on everything? I was like, well, to be honest with you, there's 2 reasons on that. I was like, that's employee loyalty and progression. I was like, if you see, I worked at Subway. I was like, I'm not going anywhere on that job. I got to leave there. That was just a stepping stone. I was like, 2, employee loyalty. I was like, you give me a pat on the back. That's all I need. That's what I've been lacking from these other jobs. And that's it. He was like, I'd love to have you on the team. And he has, since that day, never let me down on that. He has treated me exactly how I am. To the point, I have never, ever, ever taken a goddamn day off. Ever.
That's good.
I have 130 hours of PTO.
Jesus, did they roll over, right?
Well, no, they do. They didn't, and I had to talk to him about that because I was a little bit worried.
Either use them or lose them. That sucks. I don't know. I hate taking days off. Like
they only let 80 roll over, so like he can refurbish me them. Like he can give them back, but 80 is all you get to keep at the end of the year. I don't know. I was hoping maybe I could cash it out. You know what I mean? But maybe I should cash out half of it and just. I want to do a vacation, man. You know what I want to do? I want to go to Jamaica. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to go to Jamaica.
Why Jamaica?
I love Jamaica.
Yeah.
That's I've been there 3 or 4 times in my life. And that's my favorite fucking place on the planet. It's catch-22 because of the poverty. That's a horrible place. You know what I mean? They're very poor there. Like,
right.
Have you been to Jamaica?
No, never left the country.
Really?
Been to every state besides Hawaii and Alaska.
Really? What the fuck? Okay, those 2 statements... Like, the first statement was like, okay, but the second statement's like, I think that's a better statement than leaving the country, that you visited 48 states?
Well,
Puerto Rico?
Okay, yeah, I haven't been to Puerto Rico either. Let me rephrase that. I haven't vacationed to all those states.
Yeah.
I've vacationed to probably about 3-4 states. But, like, my dad's a truck driver, so we would always, we traveled, I'd go with him on my summer vacations and stuff. So I've been to every state, like, whether it be for, like, a week or a couple of days, like, I would hang out and do something. We'd always make it a thing to do something in each state. Whether it be just going to a park or something and hanging out or going to see a movie somewhere or something.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was nice. But I definitely want to get out the country.
Jamaica's cheap too. Like, I'm pretty sure, who knows, nowadays it's probably even fucking cheaper. But I remember before coronavirus happened, it was cheaper to fly from New York to Jamaica and back than it was to fly to Florida and back.
No shit.
What
the fuck?
It's just the poverty. They need the money, so they're gonna give you reduced pricing.
Yeah, that
they
ain't
need
bad.
the income.
Definitely. See, man, my thing about visiting other countries, like, I want to go to Japan. I like their culture.
They're cool.
They're like, I just want to go there and see. Like, I want to go with the cherry blossom trees. What are the fucking trees with the leaves and the?
You want to see those?
Yeah, I thought that would
or
be
is
pretty
there an area
cool.
that has them?
Well,
a garden of orange blossom.
Like most parks and places in Japan have them.
What if you got there and there was just fucking pine trees everywhere?
Oh, I'd be
You're
pissed.
like, what the fuck,
Same shit
dude?
in Florida. Like Florida swamp.
That's the cool part about Florida. I moved down here from New York about 2.5 years ago, and this is a different biome. This is a complete different biome.
Yeah.
Completely. Like,
our woods are different. Like,
so in Florida, it's cool because, like, I just moved down here, so I still got the memories of the stuff that I remember that didn't occur from New York. You know what I mean? And in, like, New York, There's no fucking geckos. There's no lizards. You know what I mean? So if you heard something move, that was like a rat or that was a raccoon or something. You know what I mean? It was a dangerous animal. But down here, like, you hear bushes moving, you're like, what the fuck? And it's just a fucking lizard.
That could be anything. Yeah.
Could be anything. And it's to the point where it's like there's so many lizards that they might be the fucking bait to distract you from the panthers, boars, bears that are down here. But it's so crazy because, like, sagos, you know anything about, like, voice crack. You know anything about, like, the different shrubberies down here?
No.
So I worked at Massey for like 6 months. I learned a lot because essentially.
Isn't that a lawn care?
Yeah,
company?
it's insecticide, fungicide, weed control. That's about it. You just kind of take care of the lawn and the shrubs if they have the service for the shrubs or if they request it. And it's a horrible job, horrible job. It's slave labor. At least the one that I worked at. Apparently, the branch is too big to be able to support itself, and they had routes that were really supposed to be divvied up into 2 different people, but were divvied up into 1 person due to the rotating door policy and the lack of employment staying. So I learned a lot about shrubberies, and what's really cool is like palm trees only are down here. Like sagos. There's like when you look out the window, the plants you see and everything don't exist in Florida. None of them. It's a whole different grass type, everything. Like, when I first learned there was sand underneath grass, I thought sand was only at the beach.
Dude, Florida is
a different world altogether. You know what I mean?
We're a different breed down here, dude.
In New York, like, I would go through trails all the time because I lived on Grand Island, and Grand Island doesn't exist on the map. Here, I'm going to show you a picture of it. So I talk about this to everybody. Grand Island is a part of New York, but it doesn't exist on the map. It doesn't exist at all. But it's like the second largest freshwater island in the entire planet. Like there's a lot of them. Grand Island, New York. That's Springville, I think the first one. Right there, boom. So it looks like a pork chop. You see that?
Yeah.
Literally looks like a pork chop. That's Grand Island. And if you look at the full New York State, there's the Grand Island Bridge right there. It's cool because these are coasts. You'll see the Niagara River ran around it, and then there's, I think both are the Niagara River technically. It would get colder in Grand Island than it would get in Alaska every winter. Damn.
Yeah.
And no one even talks about it.
No one even talks about it.
We would watch the news and you would see purple white right where you're at, and then everything else is 20 degrees fucking warmer. Yeah. So like if it was negative 30, it's fucking negative 50. We had a blizzard in 2003 or 2008. It was the Great Blizzard 2008. And I remember...
Oh, yes, the Great Blizzard. I remember that.
Yeah. The Great Blizzard of 2008. I remember waking up and school was canceled, and you looked out the window and you were fucking blinded immediately because the snow was just like there. You know what I mean? When you look, when your eyes are fucking bleeding trying to see out the window. And then I went downstairs, turned on the TV, it didn't work. Threw the remote down on the ground because I'm an asshole kid. And then school was closed for like 3 days. The power was out for like 2 days. It was kind of crazy. But this is Grand Island. And if you look at Grand Island, New York state map, they don't include it on the flag. They don't include it, like, if you're looking at the globe.
I like how the first search result when you were typing that was Grand Island, New York State. Or you went to go type state and it came up stabbing.
Yeah. So this is what they show New York State as. Grand Island's existing over here. They literally cut Grand Island out of New York on everything they do. Let's see. If you go NY State. Let's see. See? Look it. They don't even consider Grand Island as New York.
That's funny.
Isn't that crazy? So I live in a place that no one...
What's the state below there? That's New Jersey, right?
I'm going to be honest with you. I am an idiot when it comes to...
Same. Like I said, when I was a truck driver, I don't... Nope.
So, I don't know. What's weird is like where we lived right here. Like Grand Island technically exists right here. Literally right there. And I always thought Canada, straight up. But no, that's Lake Ontario right there. It's actually Canada was to our west. Isn't that?
That's where Niagara Falls is?
Yeah, that's Niagara Falls right there.
Then where the hell? I thought. Yep. I'm not a geographer.
Dude, isn't that crazy? Like, you live somewhere and you have no idea. And I think that's an American thing more than anything. I think the rest of the world probably has a good understanding of states.
Where there are.
We have no idea where we are. Like, have you ever seen the meme where it's like, name all the states you see? And you're just like, Texas, Florida, New York, California,
The
Oregon,
big main ones.
Utah, and that's it. That's all of them. That's the only ones I know. But what I was saying was, like, I would do trails. Like, I would go through trails up there all the time. That was, like, a really fun thing to do in the middle of the night. Like, when I was in my 1920s, not 1920, but, like, 19/20. I would go through the woods with my buddy, and this was, like, the adult version of going through the woods, was we would bring a flashlight, but we'd turn it off. So we would walk through these woods, pitch black. In the middle of the night. So like and the thing is that whole island is a trail all the way around it. So it's essentially like a 35-mile trail.
Right.
Through some are parks, some turn into trails that lead to other parks that then turn into trails that people really have made that don't really exist. So you always get like, it was such a safe area, Grand Island, that you could do that. You know what I mean? It wasn't like walking around Buffalo in the middle of the night, or Niagara Falls in the middle of the night. No, you were walking around this section of country on an island in the middle of those fucked up cities right there. But we would walk around it without any flashlights, just pitch black, just to freak ourselves out. Because you could do that in New York. You do that down here, you can get bit by a rattlesnake, you can fucking die from a panther, you can fucking get attacked by a boar. There's black bears down here. There's poisonous lizards, apparently. There's spiders that are the size of your hands. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I had a really cool story when I moved to Palm Coast originally. Me and my buddy went to go look for a trail to go hang out on, and I was like, I think I saw one over here, because there are no trails really out here. Like, right. You gotta find a park. That's it. In New York, it was like, there's a random hole in the woods, that's a trail. You know what I mean? And then you can walk through it, and it's usually people have done it. Well, we came to this, it was like a power grid, one of those fenced off power grids with like the boxes and the little towers, and they're usually like a relay for utilities for the neighborhood. What we did was we went over there, and I get up there, and there's this horrible smell. Like this horrible, horrible smell. I haven't smelled this smell before. I was thinking it was sewage or something. I don't know, because I didn't know what the smell was.
Right.
I just could smell it. And I see the breaking of the trees, so I know there's a path. We're walking past this thing, and as we get closer, we're like, it's less of a path. It's more of like a forced little trail. And I'm leading the way. And I walk in, and then I realize what the smell is. And there was a fucking skinned dog laying there. Body in the corner, and then his fur was cut like in a video game. Like, they cut from the head, they cut the feet off, they cut the tail. It was literally a skin of an animal.
This was in Florida?
Palm Coast, yes.
Oh
yes.
My God.
Probably like not even a half a mile from my house. And then it hits me. That's rotting flesh that I'm smelling. That's a rotting body. And then you're like, oh. Like, then you start getting gag reflex. And it's like, you see that in a movie, but you don't realize it until you're there. You know what I mean? But once you realize you're smelling a dead body, you start throwing up. And I'm like, dude, you don't want to come back here. And then my paranoia starts triggering. And I get these, like, hairs on the back of my neck. And I like to believe in some paranormal. So, like, I like to at least pretend when I'm there, you know what I mean? But I'm, like, looking around, getting this vibe that, like, I'm being watched. I look over. There's tall grass, and there's a sign that's clearly knocked down. It was a metal sign. It said, like, do not trespass or something like that. But it was knocked down into the tall grass. Okay. And what I could see was these pig's feet sticking out. Like real pig's feet sticking out of the tall grass. And I'm like, oh, this is some fucked up, weird, probably illegal hunting, skinning section. So we fucking turned around, and I was like, yo, that's a dead body. There's a skinned dog. I can see the fucking coat right there. The flesh is rotting. There's maggots on it. There's the pig's feet. I'm like, something's going on here. So we sat down next to it.
We sat down next to it. Okay, Julia.
Yeah, and then the entire time, we were partaking in a certain event, and the entire time we were paranoid, like hearing stuff all around us.
Oh yeah.
So this is where it gets a little freakier. I go back to my house, right? And this weird stuff starts happening around the house. So our house, the way it's laid out in Palm Coast, is like there's bushes on L shape right here. The house sits right here. There's another house over here. So this is trees, and this whole side is trees. So if there's anything that can happen, it's over here. One time I was laying in bed, and I started hearing tapping on the window. Now look, I don't know what I believe, and I don't know what this is. All I do know is these experiences happened. I'm open to whatever it is. I like to play with the idea of paranormal and stuff a little bit, but the reality is I do not know what was going on, but I do have these experiences that occurred. So all I can do is relay those experiences and then have you share in that same feeling. So I think the first thing that happens is we see a flashlight going through the backyard or something like that. And I told my brother, I was like, hey, like I think there's a dude with a flashlight in our backyard. And he goes out, he walks around the house with a gun. No one's out there. Next day goes by. He's like, hey, were you outside? I was like, no. He was like, I just saw a flashlight on my back window. So he gets out. He goes out. Now he's fucking seeing stuff happen. So then I'm laying in bed.
Getting goosebumps, man.
I hear tapping on the window. I'm laying in bed and I'm talking like, let me recall this correctly, because sometimes those memories get a little sketchy. I'm pretty sure it wasn't tapping. It was a bang. I heard a loud bang. This could have been a bird flying full speed into the fucking window. It could have been. But that's what it had to have been. It wasn't a frog jumping up. There's no trees near it. There's a good 10 feet till that brush line. So that window's by itself. There's nothing near it. But there was a bang! And the thing is, my bed was on the floor. I had no bed frame, so it was just a mattress on the floor. It was essentially where this corner is right here, and the window is right here. So when you're laying on the ground, you can see up through the actual blinds. So if there was something standing outside the blinds looking down at you, they would be able to look right at you. So I heard that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to pretend nothing happened. I'm just going to roll over. And I rolled over, went to bed, and it gets better. It gets fucking better. So what ends up happening after this is I'm sitting on the back porch. I would come home after work, and I'd sit on the back porch. And my brother has a wheelchair that he's taken from like a job way back in New York, but he's carried it with him. And it's really cool because you start to balance yourself with no feet. Yeah. And then you get addicted to that. And that turns into a month-long thing. And then you start teaching yourself to balance with one hand.
Just chilling on the back porch.
And then you just chill on the back porch like that. It's really fun. It's really fun. Like once you get in a wheelchair and you learn how to balance yourself, you're addicted. You're addicted right away. Like that's a real thing. And I'm sitting back there. I'm getting paranoid. And I'm doing something. And I'm getting a little paranoid. And I'm like, I'm just paranoid. You know what I mean? We got the screened in porch. There's the door there. I can see at least 20 feet to the trees. Something's going to come. I'm going to have time to get out. But I don't see anything. And then all of a sudden it's like, BAM! And it sounds like somebody jumped trying to grab onto the roof, but their feet slipped and they were like that, like pulling themselves back up. Yeah, that's exactly what it sounded like. I was like, oh, fuck this. I'm getting inside. So I go inside and I'm in bed and I'm just like, fuck. Like, what do you do? Because I was clearly doing something that's going to make me paranoid. But then having that experience happen, how do you tell people that? You know what I mean? Even if you do, they're not really going to listen to you. So going forward, nothing really happens for a while. And I'm also really working hard to ignore all this stuff. And I take the trash at one time. My brother, I think the family was gone for a day or two, so I was home alone. My brother was very strict. I had some chores I had to do. And he was like, make sure you take this trash out. You know what I mean? So I came home from work at like 11 o'clock. I decided to drink like 2 tall boys. In my head, I'm like, yeah, I should take that trash out before it's like 2 a.m. so I'm not freaking myself out in the side of the house in the middle of the night. So 2 a.m. comes. I decide to take the trash out. And I go out there. And I'm ready, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm there. I'm like dragging the trash. I'm carrying it. And then I hear like, the way it works is like, this is the driveway. This is where the trash is. This is the side of the building. This is the trees right here. So I'm walking up carrying the trash, and I hear like something like that, and I'm like, okay, I probably just dropped this.
Yeah, went a little too low.
Yeah, went a little too low, dragged it, a little drunk, so maybe the sounds didn't register correctly. Whatever, I'm cool. So I throw it out, right? I turn around and I hear and the fucking leaves are moving again right behind me. And I stopped. And you know, your fucking hairs stand up because no twigs snapped. It was just leaves moving. And I'm like, this is not a prey. This is a predator. He's working to not snap twigs. So in my head, I'm like, this could be a fucking panther or something, like a Florida panther, legitimately. So I turn my flashlight on. I'm just standing there, and I don't see any eye shine, none. And I'm like, I'm being hunted right now. That's what this is. So I'm just taking steps back. I get to the porch, to the driveway, and I'm like, okay. And I go to turn, and the fucking leaves all move over to where I'm at so they can line up directly with me as I'm backing up across the front of the house.
Dude.
And I fucking turned around and I ran and I fucking opened the door, shut the door, locked the door. I told my sister about this forever. I'm like, yo, I don't know what's going on. Let me tell you this part.
Now you got to start coming out public with it, like,
Oh
guys, some crazy shit's been happening.
Yeah. And like, it got so creepy that like during broad daylight, one time, our dog, my brother's dog, attacked a lizard. My nephew felt bad about it because he was maimed bad. Like his hand was all fucked up. His eye socket was like pumping out a good chunk of blood. And so I was like, I think I can heal him back to health. I was like, I'll just dab the blood off his eye. I took super glue and I super glued his foot into a paddle so that he could still use it for movement and it won't actually infect. Like I did pretty good on it.
Yeah.
And so we went to the side of the house to pick some grass and stuff to make a terrarium for him. And the grass starts fucking moving right in front of us. And my nephew's like 4 years old. He's like, what's that? And he's got this look on his face, which is half excitement, half what's going on. And I'm like, he's going to pick up on whatever I say. And I'm like, I don't know. Let's go inside. And he's like, and we walk inside. And we go inside. I'm like, okay, so it's out in broad daylight. So in my head, I'm like, this is probably a panther. My sister lives there now, and she has weird shit happen to her all the time. I'm like, hey, I told you. I was like, I don't know what's going on over there, but there's some shit going on in Palm Coast. P-section ain't good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right?
But yeah, that happened to me down here, and that was fucking weird. All that shit was weird. You have anything like that happen?
So I believe, alright, touchy subject, paranormal.
You don't gotta
shit.
bring anything up that's touchy.
No, it's just weird. I don't know, because everybody has different beliefs and shit. Like, alright, I don't necessarily believe in ghosts and spirits and all that shit, but shit does happen, alright? And
You're not sure what it is, but there's room for shit to happen.
Well, so my dad, my grandma's property in Polk County is on a cemetery.
Mm.
The whole thing was a cemetery. They removed half the cemetery to build houses and whatnot. And then the other half is, still usable. That's where my grandpa got buried and all that shit on the property.
Mm.
Well, when I was a kid, I used to be very in tune with all that sort of paranormal shit. And then, I don't know if they chose me out of everybody to fuck with me. I don't know, dude. But
maybe you were just listening for when it happened.
Yeah, well, for the longest time, even to this day, weird shit happens. And, if something happens, I just be like, straight up, I'm like, you're not welcome here. You need to leave. I'll say that out loud, and usually I'm fine for the rest of until some new shit happens.
That's kind of funny you bring that up.
We'll get back to that. The worst thing, I'll just go to the worst thing that's ever happened.
Keep going.
Well, I guess there's two things. And my dad, it was a trailer. We used to live on a trailer on the property. There's 2 other trailers and then my grandma's house. It was daytime one night, and then he has the back door open, and then the window curtains are blowing in the wind. Well, I see the curtains blow up, and then when it blows down, there's a lady in a wedding dress. And then it fucking blows up and goes down, and she's gone, and I'm like, I ignore it because that's what I do. I don't let it freak me out. I just try not to acknowledge their existence.
Yeah, you don't want to boost it.
And then another time, there was a kid with a ping pong paddle, whatever the fuck they do that thing with the ball and the string, and then you fucking whack it.
Cup?
No, it's not ball in a cup. It's kind of like ball in a cup.
He's just out there.
I don't know what they call it. What the hell do they-
Yeah, you're right. Paddle ball.
Right?
Right?
Yeah, I'm calling it paddle ball. That's what it is
That's
now.
what it is now. It's paddle ball now.
But yeah, there was just a little kid who came out of one wall and then just looked at me, and then kept walking to the other wall, and just that was it. Like, and I don't. That was at nighttime. The daytime, I know I was awake for the lady in the wedding dress. The nighttime, I could have just been like mid dream or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, that's been kind of like following me my whole life. But I just ignore that shit.
I feel a little bit same on you on that. Was there another thing you were gonna go into?
Nope, that was it. The two.
That was the two?
That was my two big.
We share a lot of similarities in that, because I'm the same way. I don't know what. I don't get the purpose if ghosts were to exist. I don't get the purpose. Not that there needs to be a purpose and that like life itself is kind of just like a search for a purpose anyway. But I mean, of course I'm going to say something like it doesn't make sense as though I understand the universe. You know what I mean? But like, why would people who were not anything before they were born turn into ghosts? And why would those ghosts be the versions of them they were during their life?
See, I think of it as more as they're having trouble passing to the other side. Because like our spirits will always be, whether we're in this body, another body, like how you said.
Maybe a manifestation of that entity is still linked to that reality point in time, but maybe your like soul is a third party existence in other distributions, but maybe that soul and that reality is stuck there. Yeah. That's a cool way to look at it. I could see, there's a theory that everything retains information and everything retains memory. There's a big ideology around that. I'm going to fuck his name up really bad. I'm not even going to go for the name. There was a bunch of studies. Like, there was a study done on water. Could be bullshit. Honestly, didn't look up if it was fact-checked or not. I'm really just spitting out fucking YouTube information on this one. But they did studies on freezing water droplets and, like, flowers in water or like Arctic ice, and the crystallization of the waters under different environments had different structures when they crystallized. So like when you played rock music and you crystallized that water crystallized at a different shape than like Beethoven. But
now that would have to do with the vibrations though.
Well, yeah. But at the same point, if you put a flower petal into water, that water will crystallize a different shape. But you can take that same flower petal and put in all the other waters, and they will mirror that same crystallization between all of them. So you take Beethoven's symphony and you play that to any glass of water, the same crystallization will happen. So what that means is that there is a set profile for that song, for that crystallization, which means that everything has some form of measurement or memory of the output to input.
Now imagine if you could crack that code decode it and like, the shit you would know. Yeah. Talk about all the world's secrets.
Yeah, well, we're drinking the same water dinosaurs drank. So if water did hold memory, if you could extract the information that water held, you could extract all the information from the history of the planet.
Fucking A.
And then, I guess at a certain point, if you were able to understand that, then I guess asteroids that would come by, you'd be able to understand other planets you've never even seen.
Yeah, for the ones they've passed through.
Yeah.
Damn, that's some cool shit to think about.
It's some cool shit, yeah. There's this hippy-dippy belief. Have you ever heard of the Pleiadians and everything?
No, I haven't.
I'm not sure if I buy into any of that. The thing is, when you go into the spiritual/alien side, they bleed together, they pull apart, they come very radically different, but also some of them merge together. I think it's like, if you smear it all together, you're going to have a more accurate picture than if you separated it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was this hippy-dippy thought that Earth was an experiment to saving information. That this was a planet to learn how to save information different ways. How to save data. So like RNA and DNA was all a combination on this planet on how we can store information into genetics. How we can store information into water, into particles, into plants. Different ways that we can have information distributed throughout the universe. So if you're actually buying into simulation theory, then it very well could be that this is simulation in order to create a bank of information and distributable information across realities or different types of environments or reality or dimensions. I'm kind of losing train on that, but you know what I mean? Theoretically, this could be the playground that people are putting into a supercomputer to be able to put all the possibilities in, to be able to see what they could in their own reality in code. You could take the whole past of what happened in the universe, you could put it into a supercomputer, and you could theoretically have it run instances of everything we know up to this point and what the possibility could occur in the future. And theoretically, you could have a data bank of an undiscernible but quite factual possibilities of future events, to the point of exact people in exact places and exact events. The only thing is you would have to be able to figure out how to organize that in a timeline, or how to distribute that, if that is this reality or if this is a byproduct of multi-reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you could theoretically get a computer you could put all the past into and then predict the future onto. So if you're able to even do that, and we've already decided that we can do that and we're going to do that eventually, then think about if you could make a whole different reality and experiment in that reality and recreate the reality you existed in with just some basic principles to then see how that reality evolved. You could then predict the future of your own reality and the sciences and technologies that you yourself can create.
That's some pretty good shit, man. Like, I know I'm looking at you like I'm lost as fuck,
No.
but like from what I retained from that, like, no, that's some interesting way to like come at some shit.
Yeah, and you know, they say that time theoretically could be linear until the creation of the time machine, and then no longer would time become linear. Linear would no longer be the way of time. Time would be a loop from that point on.
Right.
Because you created an instance in which it's able to revert back to prior or past states, which means you are pretty much removing the experience and you're controlling the outcome.
That's well, it's kind of like I was thinking about something the other day. How do I put it? When you come to a point in time to where you make a decision, and that decision could change the outcome of your, you know, you come to that fork in the road. If you go left, you know, that's a different outcome than if you go right.
Mm-hmm.
The way, I forget where I was going with that.
Here,
it's just cool shit. Like,
I'll give you one for you. I heard this, and this is a huge one for me. If you were in a boat and somebody was riding in that boat right next to you, right? And you guys are going literally degree perfect parallel, right? If you make even a fraction of a degree of a turn, your paths will separate exponentially down the line. Even the slightest turn, you are miles away from each other at the end. And just knowing that, if you could figure out a way to apply that mentality to your own life, you could self-achieve whatever you wanted to. Because just an understanding of knowing one decision changes you exponentially, it no longer seems like this is more likely going to happen to me. When you start accepting that, you start realizing that once you make a decision, all of that reality opens up. And I think what it is, I think there's a predetermined set path. I think that from when you're born to when you die, there is a set profile of what's going to happen in your life. But what I think happens is when you make a decision, you're able to branch that off into a different reality. So I think there is a preset path. But I think because of this multiple universes overlapping, that it's got a contingency like string theory to keep it from falling apart, to where when you make a decision, that reality allows a branch off of two separates, because neither are actually important to each other. They're just decisions.
I'm thinking, you're talking about that, and I'm thinking of Rick and Morty. Best way I could translate that, like, the shit, and this is what I hate about me, like, it all makes sense, and, like, I feel like, obviously, I feel like I know everything, but clearly I don't know everything. Like, I lack the knowledge, the vocabulary to fucking say what it is I'm trying to fucking say.
You don't need any of that.
But I know in my head, that's what's right, that's what's going on. Like, I don't know, that's at least what I believe. Like, how you said it branches off, like...
Yeah, I like the saying. Have you ever heard of, they did a experiment, which it really was an experiment. It was a theoretical experiment, but it was quantum suicide. You ever heard about quantum suicide?
I have not. Sounds interesting.
It's very interesting. So what they theorized was if you had a bomb hooked up to a 50-50 timer, if you press that timer 3 times in a row and it didn't go off, you're theoretically immortal. Because you had a 50-50 chance, which means after 2 presses, one of those times you should have blown up. But because that hit no 3 times in a row, and because that can occur in an infinite universe, then that means that your probability should have been just 2 clicks. One of them goes, one of them doesn't go. Since you're on the 3rd click, you're theoretically immortal. And what they theorize is the you that lives always knows it lives, but the you that dies never knows it dies. And this is how it keeps it going. This is how it keeps it going. So, like, imagine if you have a species of dogs and one of them dies and all those species of dogs have to retain the information of that dog dying. They would never be able to continue out their own progress in their own lives. You would never be able to keep it going. You would need this reset to happen. And I think that same thing occurs. Humans like to draw the line at everything. You know what I mean? Like, at first it was, we're the center of the universe. You know what I mean? Or humans are not animals. You know what I mean? We've tried to draw the line everywhere. This is where the atmosphere ends. Are they sure of that? Are they really sure of that? Like, where it ends? Maybe there's just a really thin atmosphere everywhere. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, we like to draw the line and then we start figuring out that shit starts becoming more and more past that. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're like, well, this is where it ends. You know what I mean? Like, we got one universe. That's it. You sure? Because you thought there was just one solar system a little bit ago. Now you're saying there's one. So I don't think there's a line drawn. I think in an infinite universe, everything exists. And if you're actually going off the idea of infinity, that means there's a universe of you. Literally of you. Like a galaxy made up of bodies circling each other that have infinite tinier bodies making up planets that have little bodies that are living on that planet. Because of infinity, that exists right now. Not only that, there's an infinite amount of those universes that exist right now. It's crazy. So I guess we should wrap this up with a topic about what's going on right now. How do you see the next 10 years?
As me, the country, or the world? Because USA is
As
crazy as fuck right now.
As the
in the
world,
next 10 years,
as the world or country, yeah.
How do I see in the next 10 years? Definitely, there's going to be a lot of changes. Dude, I was reading something the other day. They're trying to get rid of fishermen. All right, they don't want the word men in it. And all right, I'm not against. I support people and their beliefs. Like, I don't care if you're fucking he, she, transgender, gay. Like, all right, but when you're trying to change father,
you're trying to change nouns.
Like, I don't see the big deal. Like, does it really hurt you that much? Like, a fisherman could be a woman, all right? A chairman could be a fucking woman. Like, woman has men in it. They're just trying to change shit like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, I don't know. We're going through, like, a weird times. And then, all right, you take that into consideration. Dude, the Spanish language, you put an O and an A, they...
Feminine, masculine.
Yeah. What do you... I guess they do their own thing. They don't have nothing to do with them. But, a lot of people in America speak Spanish.
That's back to Latin. Like, the Romance languages. All of them, I believe, are masculine and feminine.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know they
Maybe
did
not
that
hieroglyphics. Could you imagine? Like, there was masculine and feminine. I guess it would be the shape, right? Like, this is a flamboyant snake.
A flamboyant...
Yeah.
Draw a set of tits on the snake.
yeah, it's got like a little bow tie on it when it's a masculine one. Could you imagine if they struggled? Well, I mean, they realistically did struggle, right? Because, what was her face? Cleopatra created the first vibrator. So they must have had some kind of equality issues going on, right? Because men probably had an easier time masturbating and probably more likely to be looked upon as, like, okay, than women. So when Cleopatra made the first vibrator, have you ever heard how she made it?
I've seen. I think it was off a cartoon show. They were making fun of something of sorts like that. But
she had like a metal rod, and like on the end of it was a box, and they filled it with like bees.
Oh my god! Fuck that. That's scary, bro.
well, they didn't come out. You know what I mean? But it was supposed to.
I don't trust it.
What if they were like chill bees and you were like, fuck, what's going on? Like, they're just all calm in there.
Yeah, right.
So you got to start agitating bees. Like, we got those most aggressive bees for your vibrators.
Oh my god. And then, alright, so you know how we like to breed things to suit us, like dogs, for instance, how they've changed and how we breed them and allow dogs like that.
That's crazy.
Now, if we bred angry bees, bro, they were already pissed off.
Yeah.
Now they're even
Now
more...
they're killers.
Yeah. Legit, the murder hornets coming back.
Yeah, they say dogs are like the most confusing part of human evolution. I mean, that's an understatement. That's not like no one's gonna say, yeah, no, he's right. That's where they get stuck.
Yeah, right.
No, but they say like they don't understand how dogs domesticated the way they did. like the different breeds, coats, and genetic mutations that occurred from what we think is just selective breeding, they say the only ever outcome that we've seen this occur in is humans. Like the multiple races and different breeds of humans that are able to actually interbreed with each other, but all have genetic mutations to the point where they're still breedable, but are different, has only happened in dogs. And they don't really know how we did that as successfully as we did. To the point where there was this Russian scientist, I believe in 1960, who started studying domestication of foxes. And he started attempting his first ever domestication of foxes to selectively breed foxes into a domesticated breed. And fuck, I can't think of the name of them, but Balinese foxes, I think? Balinese foxes. But what's really cool about the Balinese foxes is, so they've kept this tradition up. There's not a whole lot of them left. They kept the tradition up for this long time, and there's, you know, different people who take over the company and everything, but it's like a farm. It's really not a company. Now, what they do is they pick the foxes that are least scared and aggressive towards humans. That's it. That's all they can do. So, like, if you got 12 foxes, they could all be terrified, and that one that just doesn't run as fast as the other ones is the one you're going to breed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just do that. But what's cool is Balinese foxes ended up getting different coats and different colored eyes. And it's only been, I think it's only been 60 years of them breeding, but maybe I'm saying it wrong. Domesticated foxes. It's only been a few years of them breeding, but they're already seeing the coat changes and the color changes in the foxes. You see those?
Yeah.
So they get like different colored eye pigments. They get different colored coats. They get white coats. Some of them get blue eyes. Some of them get brown eyes. But they're noticing the coats are changing, the colors are changing, the eye colors are changing.
Cool.
It's really cool because we're seeing essentially these species evolve into a domesticated breed. And theoretically, here's some of the Balinese foxes too. Completely different colors. White, black, blue eyes.
Yeah.
And it's just selectively
fox.
breeding them. The more passive, the more peaceful, the more diversity within that breed. And that statement alone we should think about towards the progression of everything.
I was actually thinking the other day, I don't know if this is where you're going with that, but I was thinking the other day about what if we, had selective breeding with humans, all right?
No, you gotta stop right there.
Okay.
You gotta stop right there, because I think we did that for a little bit, and I think that's a controversial topic. Yeah, no, I get where you're going, and they probably are now. I mean, if you think about it, but I think humans are so stupid now.
Yes, do they let anybody have kids? We don't do that now.
Well, I think military's definitely, but I don't think they're selectively breeding, which I think that's the only way you can successfully create a species that can sustain itself. Like, I think if you alter DNAs through chemicals or stuff like that, then the body has some failures because it hasn't had the time to fully develop. Like a big thing they talk about is the weakness in the human back and how your back seems to fail in every single human and how our backs are not designed for the gravity on this planet. And that obviously sparks conspiracies where they say, well, how come we can't support the gravity on this planet? That's a little weird because no other species really occur except for dogs that get hip dysplasia. And what happened to them? They were selectively bred. So when you look at the outcome of dogs and you compare it to humans, you gotta think something happened. Because we got hip dysplasias, we got appendixes that blow up. We literally look like an animal that was taken care of. That should not exist in its environment, that still exists in its environment.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. So I think the next species of animal, if humans disappear, the next species of animal that would become sentient. I was thinking about this long and hard, and I had two thoughts. Octopuses.
That's a very good one. They're fucking smart as hell.
Cats.
Cats.
Now hear me out. Hear me out.
All right,
Hear
I'm
me
listening.
out. Not meow, hear me out. So I thought about this long and hard, and almost all second to third world countries are overran with cats. Like Brazil, they think 90% of the people have toxoplasmosis just for this reason. Toxoplasmosis is a virus that you can pick up from the fecal matter of cats that's really a disease that's virally infected into the cat from rats that are jacked to get turned on to the pheromones and the piss of the actual cats that fucks their brain up, and they get turned on from the smell of cat piss, and they go looking for cats because the virus is trying to hop from the rat body to the cat body to the human body. So, long story short, toxoplasmosis, there's a direct correlation between toxoplasmosis and motorcycle accidents. Not only that, direct correlation between toxoplasmosis and successful soccer players in the male regard, female regard as well. It makes them a little more violent, a little more stronger.
What in the fuck, Julian?
Yeah, but that's a virus that symbiotically matches a human's biochemistry and allows the human to keep doing its thing, but enhances and deficits in little ways. So theoretically, if you gave a bunch of soldiers toxoplasmosis, it would be a good idea because it wouldn't really harm the people if you needed the extra edge. But I was thinking about cats. This is why I think cats would be able to be the next species on, because we kind of had a weird relationship with cats. Cats originally were the main enemy of humans. The main enemy of humans. You know how saber-tooths had those giant hooks that came over here? Well, there was a form of cat that its teeth were specifically shaped so that it could pierce in the eyes of a hominid and crush the back of the occipital plate at the exact same time.
Yeah,
so they
really
could
fuck us up.
They could grab you by the back of the head and snap it up, and then they could carry you, and they would just carry you away. So our ancestors would watch their own people get bit in the back of the skull through the eyes and picked up and carried away. So we had to hunt those bitches. We killed everything off. We killed everything off. Everything big, everything giant. But I think it was during the Roman, a little bit before the Roman Empire. I want to say the Byzantine Empire had a belief on this, where they would make their roads have these little bricks that had divots in them. And it was so that when it rained, they filled up with water, because they had religious beliefs that you need to treat animals correctly because they're a part of God. And if you treat them disrespectfully, then you are disrespecting a part of God.
Right.
So they came into our areas because we kind of let them. And they would come around our farms, and we would notice that they were eating the grain that we were throwing out there, which is technically horrible for those cats, but it is the very reason we're able to feed them the dry food we're able to feed them now. And it's because we kind of, the ones that really could take it and their livers didn't shut down, they kept going. And so we noticed they were eating our grain, they were keeping the rats out, so we just throw a little more grain to them. So they were domesticated for a complete different process and reason than dogs were. Dogs, we needed them for herding, for stuff like that. We had to control them into that. Cats kind of just came in, you know what I mean? So now cats are domesticated, and there's a whole book that this author has about what would happen if the world ended, and he specifically focuses on cats. And he talks about the population of cats in cities in second to third world countries, as well as the populations of cats within households in first world countries. He says you got this majority of cats are going to die in the house. This majority of cats are going to die outside. This majority of cats are going to make it outside and survive. This majority of cats are going to go from the outside to inside and die. And what he has is down the line a complete different evolutionary path of all these different cats of all these different environments surviving in the outcome of the fall of the humans. And the ones that are used to being fed and everything actually developed a little bit more intelligence, were able to go further and use tools and make little huts for themselves. They didn't develop to the point of like tribes or anything, but they were developed enough to making tools and making huts. I think cats are going to be next, only because they were not selectively bred out of the environment. They chose to be bred into it, so they have the ability to still go out of it. I think if you take a Chihuahua, there's no way in hell you're going to have a pack of wild Chihuahuas out there.
No, fuck no.
You know what I mean? But I think a domesticated cat definitely could affect the genetic lineage of all the cats going forward.
I think you're definitely onto something there.
Yeah.
See, I would have never thought cats before you brought that up, but you're bringing up some pretty good solid points.
They're good hunters. They're very affectionate. They're very social. They need to be around each other. They partake in drug use. They mirror a lot of human behaviors when it comes down to it. They have a hierarchy system, everything. When it comes down to it, they are mirroring humans exactly. The only difference is they were not domesticated on purpose. They were accidentally domesticated. I think it's a little bit more difficult for dogs. And that's just a theory. There's no way to fucking prove that.
Yeah.
I just think it would be difficult. You're going to have some species of dogs who dominate. Absolutely. But I think the majority of those dogs are going to get bred out. You know what I mean? Because you got a dog. I mean, what's going to happen is those generations from when it occurs are going to live 10, 20 years and reproduce. And then what do those species occur? You know what I mean? Like a pig. Have you ever heard of the genetic mutations of a pig? Pigs are weird. So pigs, pink, right? Pink, like barely any hair, fat.
Well, and that's what they perceive them as to be. But dude, pigs are fucking ugly, scary, and
I mean,
hairy.
they can be gray. Yeah. But like, even when they're hairy, I'm talking like a domesticated pig. They're hairless compared to boars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It only takes 6 weeks for a pig to leave a farm, go into the woods, grow hair and tusks. Its generation of piglets are boars.
Damn.
But if it was kept in the farm, those are piglets. So the body subconsciously knows the environment it's in and changes the genes for that environment.
That's pretty cool. They can fucking adapt that quick.
But I don't think they're aware of it. I don't think they're aware of it in the slightest. You know what I mean? But their bodies genetically mutate to such an extreme. It's like, you ever seen orangutans?
Not in person. Can't say I have.
So you know how you see orangutans usually? They're like long ass arms. They look like a chimp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you see those orangutans that got the fucking big ass face, and the face pads, and they're gigantic. Well, there's this. They don't know why, but from studying in nature, it doesn't happen to every tribe of orangutans. Some never have this happen. But there's a gigantomorphism that occurs sometimes where one random orangutan for no reason will gain 300 pounds in muscle and will gain 2 feet in height. And they think that its face is wide because it's pumping out so much testosterone that its face gives off the testosterone that shrinks the balls of every single orangutan within that area because they cannot match the actual testosterone level. Not only that, they've documented other female orangutans, when they pick up the scent of a giganto orangutan, they line up and they hoot towards him to have him come and breed with them.
Hey.
But they have no reason why this happens, and it doesn't need to happen, but it does happen, and it's random.
That's pretty interesting.
So I wonder if humans got something like that. Take a human, you know what I mean? If we could take humans, put them on another planet. Let me mute this. If we can take a species of humans and put them on another planet, I wonder if we would be able to see the same outcome. Because obviously with the orangutans, it doesn't happen often. And it's only the orangutan species that occurs in. But I wonder if humans got that same genetic outcome. And we can't really perceive it because we've been civilized.
Yes, we'll say probably not in this day and age. It wouldn't quite work out like that. Now, given the certain environment, like putting them different places, that's an interesting theory.
Yeah, like, would you turn into like a giant Hulk human out in the wilderness? It would be kind of cool. Like, would you grow a bunch of hair? Like, maybe we got some Neanderthal traits that are genetically linked into us, and maybe, ooh, that's a cool concept to come into. So you know how like all the ancestors of humans were, the theory now is they all interbred and they coexisted for like 300,000 years. A lot of people get tripped up and think it was Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, Homo sapien, etc. Yeah. It wasn't a tree. No, they all fucking existed at the same time, and they all just fucked each other. It was not a tree branch. It was a meshing of a net. and wouldn't it be a cool idea if we were all Neanderthal, but only some of the Neanderthals that became like civilized in villages had that mutation turned off?
Damn.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then you have like, that's an interesting thought. You know what I mean? What if that mutation was like the primal mutation to keep you going, but once you're civilized, the other mutations turn off and other mutations turn on? Because your body structure is based on your environment 100%. I mean, to the very least, you see people who grow up in inner cities and how they act. I mean, the personality develops 100% based on the environment, but your physical structure does too. There's a direct in primates, there's a direct link between the size of your testicles and the promiscuity of your ancestors. If your balls are really small, that means the women your ancestors slept with really didn't sleep with a lot of people. They were very loyal. But if your balls are gigantic, that means you had a bunch of whores in your fucking ancestry who were just fucking around, because those need to just pump out as much as they can.
Right.
So it'd be like a cool concept to think like maybe humans all had this like pig-like genetic mutation, but when some of them became civilized, that mutation turned off. because we are very similar to pigs. They're one of the very few species that have sex for pleasure. And they're super intelligent. They're more intelligent than dogs are, they say. And more intelligent than cows. They say cows are more intelligent than dogs.
Shit, I don't believe that.
And we eat them. And we eat them. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we stop eating them. I'm just saying there's some weird, trippy shit to it. And I wonder if we were given the same circumstance that they were given, what would be the outcomes? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we probably all mirrored each other, but given the environment...
You know, it sucks we can't, like, really do tests like that without... It's
you could if you had a supercomputer and you could put all the information into, you could see everything.
Yeah.
But what would become the point of life after that? You know what I mean? If you could predict every outcome, what would be the point? Would you share that with the people? You know what I mean? That's a real That's a real responsibility to be the guy to create the computer that can predict the future and thinking about whether or not other people should know it.
What if Futurama did a skit on that?
Did they?
Yeah.
Well,
where they just had a machine that predicted the future, and then they would they try and change the future. I don't know. I saw that episode like years ago, but they did something along those sort of lines. I forget what they called the machine, but that's pretty.
Would you give people the chance to see their own future, or would you want them to live their own life not knowing?
See, I like the guess.
Yeah,
I
right.
Like the mystery of things.
You wouldn't.
But it wouldn't hurt. Would it hurt to know some things?
You like to pick and choose? Like, what am I getting for my birthday next week? I just want to know.
Yeah, right?
You're like picking...
Nothing more, nothing less.
It's like self-filtering on porn. You're like, okay, I'm not going to go that deep. I'm just going to stay out of these topics. You know what I mean? That's probably going to be a thing. And then there's probably going to be people... Oh, my God. The reality of the future is there's probably going to be people out there who end up watching their whole life. And, like, then we're going to have, like... rehabs about people watching their own life and have to go through rehab to be able to figure out how to recope with their life.
Dude, you already did it. It's in the past, brother.
That'd be crazy. Well, dude, this has been going for almost 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Hope I gave you enough footage.
It's going to be good. This was really fun. I think we're going to wrap this up now.
Sounds good.
It has
been fun. Yeah, I liked it.
I think this is going to be really cool.
I need to get more into the swing of it.
Yeah. The more and more you do it, the cooler it's going to get. And I think this is going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to having like a bunch of people over. I think this is going to be really, really cool. I want to create a life and I want to bring people with me on this life that we can separate from it. You know, like I want to... It sounds hippy-dippy and every kid says the same thing, but I don't know if I can accept not doing it. You know what I mean? I think the goal is... that if you can't accept something, you got to make sure you do it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Otherwise, you got to think with that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So that's my plan with this. I'm hoping to do more of these. You're going to be on quite a bit if I can get you on.
Try now.
Okay. All right. And then, all right. I think that's it. Anything you got to say?
Nope. Have a good night, guys.
All right. And we're out of here.